European competitions, scoring 27 goals. That's him nearly averaging a goal a game, number one in a European competition, but number two against teams that he had never played before. Like, as a die-hard Arsenal fan, I still wake up, in cold sweats, thinking about the days that we had to go toe-to-toe with Messi every single year in the round of 16, where he would just score 4 goals and leave us on the floor, drinking water from the puddles of mud that he had created by walking around our defenders so often. We were just getting ridiculed year in and year out. I think there was only 1 year where we put up a fight, where Archibald scored the last-minute goal in the first leg, and in the second leg, Van Persie gets a red card or something like that. But in every other year that I saw Messi come up against Arsenal, he was moving like he had plus 99 attributes in all aspects of his game. Like this was some sort of on YouTube, the career mode experiment. Oh, I made a 99 overall player. I'm putting him on the worst team. They had a 99 overall player, but they were the best team. Barcelona were really that good, and Messi was giving me nightmares. Like, it was crazy. He actually put 9 goals past Arsenal in 6 times meeting them in Champions League competition. And it's not like he only scored goals against Arsenal, because during this time, let's be honest, Arsenal weren't at their most successful. But he scored 7 goals in 8 games against Manchester City, whilst also scoring a combined 6 against the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea, who during this time were kind of in and out of the league. And then you think and say, oh, they won in flaunting and some of his accolades, without talking about accolades with Real Madrid, where he would score a goal in the Champions League final back in the early 2000s with a volley. Let's talk about his moments, like in Euro 2000, where he would score a free kick in a quarter-final against Spain, and also a golden goal penalty in the semi-final against Portugal. And following on after that tournament, he would even tap for a goal. Then you fast forward to 2006, and it's a 34-year-old Zidane who's kind of at the top, coming off retirement, the World Cup. When he moved to Juve, all the way to 2006, he was at the peak of his powers. Like, he was, if not the best player in the world, showing that he had 10 years of longevity at the top of his game. And I think this idea and opinion of Zidane being overrated just has come from, newer gen football fans that can't really appreciate older footballers because they ain't got the time to go back and watch just 90 minutes of them, but also watching short form content. You're not really going to rate players like Zidane when the footage is in 240p. So of course I don't think that Zidane is overrated at all. I think he's quite fairly rated and he should be lauded as one of the best and most game-changing footballers in the history of football, mainly because of his technical ability and what he was able to do with a ball. Now, I don't know how long this video ended up being, but this was just me tackling a couple popular football myths. But if you have any kind of hot football takes or opinions that I could kind of make a segment in the future part to this, and if you guys enjoyed it, then we will continue this series on the channel. It's more of kind of a low effort video. It's more just my personal opinions, nothing crazy scripted, etc. But you guys let me know in the comments below. This has been a more chilled video by GgNoRaGe. I know you guys like the Ball Knowledge to Fall Asleep to series on this channel, which unfortunately got moved to the second channel, so I'm trying to kind of reincorporate the themes of it into more laid back stuff. But you guys like the video if you enjoyed it, comment what you thought, and of course your opinions, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. This has been GgNoRaGe. If you want to support the channel even more, become a channel member, and of course stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.
When it comes to the topic of aliens, nobody knows ball like I do. Legitimately, my whole life, my father and I have talked about aliens till the cows come home. When I was born, I feel like my first word, if it wasn't mama, would have been Puma Punku, with my father shaking me saying, Puma Punku, so explain that if not aliens. So believe me when I say there are few people on this planet that are more seasoned in this subject than I am. So of course when Trump made that post yesterday about declassifying alien information and UAP stuff, I knew two things. One, Epstein files really breathing down his neck, doing all they can to desperately try to distract from that, and I knew that two, we probably weren't going to be getting shit. Like, I feel like what's going to be released in regards to aliens is going to be the same shit that's come out already about them, like with the classic footage, like the Tic Tac stuff like that. I'm not expecting anything really groundbreaking from this, if anything even comes from it at all. Yeah, no, I saw the Trump post about aliens being declassified now after Obama went on a podcast and said they're real, and then somewhat walked it back. The whole thing on the podcast was, he asked, are aliens real? Obama said, they're real, but I haven't seen them. They're not at Area 51. There's not like an underground base unless there's a big conspiracy to hide it from the president. But he said they're real, and Trump was like, he released the classified information. And then an hour or two ago, he apparently made a post about, I'm just declassifying everything, which is a really convenient distraction from all of the Epstein stuff, which is starting to boil over. That's a really good, like, emergency lever to pull. Aliens. I guess we'll see what they actually release. I have a theory that what they're going to do is the same thing they did with the Epstein files until recently, where they just keep repackaging old material as if it's new. My guess is they're going to do another dump of the same files that were released 2 or 3 years ago, with like the Tic Tac and stuff like that. I am of the the firm belief that they are not going to release anything of substance. I just don't think so. I don't see it happening. Remember the small alien corpse? Yeah, that was a really fun hoax. That one was really goofy. Look at this goddamn weird alien. He's got like 3 fingers and 36 nipples. It's weird, right? Yeah, paper mache. Do you believe in aliens? Oh, I 100% believe they're out there. I am just of the firm belief that they've never been here. I feel like if they ever had been here, we would never know because their technology would be so incredibly advanced. I just don't think we'd be able to even comprehend, nor would we ever even be alerted to their presence. Like, I don't think they'd drunk drive onto Earth and just spontaneously crash in Roswell, New Mexico. And I don't think they travel around on like a colander and fly around in Colombia. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects. Fucking Hoover, these are the same things, by the way. They just switched from UFOs to UAPs. And any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. P.S. Please forget about the Epstein files. Now, much like the Trump phone, there's no guarantee this will actually come out. This could just be more smoke and mirrors and him just giving this lip service to really try and divert attention away from things like the Epstein files or the glyphosate stuff, all of that, and put it instead on aliens are coming. Aliens, everyone, look, aliens. It's a pretty classic strategy. Listen, you plebeian swine, stop talking about Israel and Iran. Aliens! This is what we should be paying attention to and focused on. Forget everything else. And hopefully most people can see through that. And even if, like me, you do care a lot about aliens and would love new information on it, I think you can and should be able to care about multiple things at once. So hopefully that doesn't immediately make people just forget about everything else, but who knows, I suppose, at this point. But I guess we'll see. I 1000% believe aliens are out there in the universe, deep in the cosmos, but I don't think at any point in our species history have they ever paid us a visit. I don't believe they've ever driven past Earth and taken pictures or waved, and I certainly don't think they've ever stopped by Earth for a little vacation. I think those dirty bastards have no way of getting to us the same way we have no way of getting to them. The amount, like, it is incomprehensible the technology they would have to have acquired to reach us. Like, it's beyond our level of understanding, so even if they did ever arrive here, I don't even think we'd be able to process their presence, and I really don't think they would have crashed here at any point. Like, I don't think, they fucking torpedoed their space cruiser into some dude's backyard, and then, one of those perverts came over there and started molesting his butthole, probing him. I don't see that ever having happened at any point, and I definitely don't think we have any, alien wreckage or anything like that, or extraterrestrial beings that we're keeping on ice or anything. So I don't think, even if they do declassify some files, I don't think it's going to be anything like super crazy. But I would love, very, very, very much love to be wrong about that. Anyway, just wanted to yap about it. That's it. See ya.
But I will say that this was a breaking point for me in the way that the administration responded to it. Like, I didn't think what's happening right now with ICE could happen in America. I genuinely did not think that was possible. I thought our institution, I thought the Constitution would hold up.
If you got conned, you got conned.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like we got conned.
Yeah.
I could call it a takeover, but that's why I have to come back to Trump has agency. Trump has agency. He's the one who's decided to embrace this neoconservative agenda, to do all of this insane nonsense of Venezuela,
Hold him
or
accountable.
like, and
Don't
thing
you
is,
have to
exactly.
Alright, so it looks like Andrew Schultz has completely jumped off the Trump train after platforming him and voting for him. Now Schultz spends a lot of time on his podcast trying to distance himself from Trump and MAGA, which he gets a ton of shit for from everyone. One thing both sides can agree on is Andrew Schultz is a grifter. Whenever clips of him criticizing Trump go viral, everyone's like, dude, this is what you voted for. And people on the left call him a sellout for platforming Trump, and people on the right call him a sellout for backtracking on Trump. like this MAGA influencer guy commented on a clip of Schultz criticizing ICE and called Schultz a grifter and said he despises him more than radical leftists. And then a left-wing influencer commented on the same clip and said, this dumbass voted for Trump, supported him, and did it to attract his base and get rich, F. Schultz. So it's good to see hating on Schultz is bipartisan. At least he helped people find something they can agree on. It's also funny seeing him try to distance himself as much as possible from Trump. Like on Brilliant Idiots, his podcast with Charlemagne, it always turns into a struggle session.
Okay, deal.
Charlemagne tries
My
to
deal.
backtrack, which I think Charlemagne secretly loves Schultz
Bueno.
because he's a big Kamala Harris fan. He interviewed and voted for her, and Schultz interviewed and voted for Trump. And during a recent episode, Charlemagne kept questioning Schultz about having Trump on, and you could tell he really wanted Schultz to admit he fucked up and got conned by Trump.
Let me ask you a question. A lot of people will say, hey, Andrew, you supported Trump. You scream.
I didn't support this at all. I've never supported his immigration policy.
So that's your question.
Yeah.
You never did support his immigration policy. Next question.
Come on, Hoarder.
Did you
Oh
not believe
my,
Trump
what
would do
was
any
that,
of
Hoarder?
that he said he was going to do because you didn't know or because you believed in the guardrails of America?
I believe in the guardrails of America.
Yeah, I get it. Like y'all had Trump on, whatever. You voted for him, whatever. It's okay to say when somebody is wrong that you voted for. I understand people that grew up in New York City tell me how good of a con artist he was. I'm like, nobody's that good. This man is good. Okay? I don't know why he's good as a con artist, but he's good as a con artist. Right. If you got cons, you got cons. Right? Yeah.
Damn, 5 goals and 2 assists? Damn.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a goal every game.
He's like, yeah, we're gonna
Nah,
go after criminals. Now they're not going after the
like
criminals.
7.
Like, yeah, I definitely do.
So you only played 10
And I feel
games.
maybe naive to believe that, and I know that I'm
I don't know how that was outside.
He's like, we're gonna get them
But
all out of here. So
we'll take that.
maybe
We'll
he's
take
saying
that.
whatever he's saying.
I think more important than the vote, though,
Okay, that was offside. That was badly offside.
they feel like you amplified it.
But they're not wrong. Listen, I don't think any criticism is wrong. That's why I said in the beginning, like, I'm not doing this to win anybody over. I just think it's like the right thing to speak out against, especially people in my situation. Because like, I think there's a lot of people, that like.
Oh my gosh, this is easy shot.
Retreat to the base.
You should not be missing those. Like,
Because there's safety in the base, there's security.
he has 5 goals. Honestly, he should have already like 8 to 10 goals.
As long as you just tell the company lines, he's gonna say you're a great guy. And that's just not who I am as a person, right? Like I try to be a nuanced thinker. If he fucks up, I'm on it. A nuanced thinker.
I was like, what the fuck?
No.
And Schultz started to backtrack pretty soon after Trump took office, but now he's totally jumped ship. So, of course, MAGA thinks he got worried his association with Trump could hurt his career. That's why he's going so hard against him now. He's trying to pander to the Hollywood liberal crowd. Like, he realized the tide was turning on Trump, so he wanted to get ahead of it. And recently, PBD covered Schultz criticizing Trump, and you could tell
Okay, Carl.
he wanted to say about it. He definitely thinks Schultz.
Why did he go for the worst shot at him? He could have easily cut out.
So he tried to say it the most
And
polite
gone
way
with his
possible.
left.
Schultz has been.
Went for the
I
curl.
think this is a calculated decision, going a little bit further left because he wants to have a good relationship with his mayor. He's a Hollywood guy now, more than a political guy. I think Schultz is. I don't know how to say this. I'm gonna say it. I think Schultz. How likely is it that Schultz studies the market of comedy very closely? Yes. How closely do you think as much as you possibly can? Andrew Schultz is a guy that's super capable. He started his career he was on Fox News a lot back, and I think he was on the I don't know what show. He was regularly on one of these Fox shows, and then he recreated himself probably because he wanted to be a mainstream comedian, and it kind of took off. And Schultz is not just a comedian. Schultz is very smart. So I think eventually we'll start to see a war between the podcasters that backtracked on Trump and MAGA. I mean, they already go after Tim Dillon like every week because every episode he goes off on Trump's administration. He also said he thinks Trump has had some underage girls, which is wild because last year around this time he was helping the Trump administration do Epstein files fiasco.
He's not gonna develop if he's like hitting that shit on target at least. Was like 3 shots off target this game.
But now he's walked that back and he's like, I think Trump's guilty, and I think he's probably had sex with underage girls. So they're really losing the Rogan sphere with this. I think Tony Hinchcliffe and Rogan are the only ones left to defend Trump, and maybe Theo Vaughn. But Schultz and Tim Dillon, it looks like, are completely done. They're both starting to think Trump is heavily implicated in the files.
So
Quite
how
do that.
powerful
Let's
are
just
people
go.
that Trump is protecting? Or does Epstein or the powers that be have incriminating evidence on him prior to the 2005 evidence of him doing anyone mentioned horrible fucking things, where he's willing to go down with the ship instead of just exposing it? Because if he did
We're really gonna get a draw off this, aren't
and he
we?
was sure that they didn't have anything, knowing Trump, yes, wouldn't he just sell everyone else down the river? That's what I'm saying. See, I like Bill Clinton. Oh, I like Bill. What do you like about him? I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me.
He's guilty.
So I think soon Trump might need to make a post attacking the Rogan sphere, to try to get these guys back in line. Because, I mean, the left is having a field day with this. Some of the videos about Schultz are like Trump's supporter admits he got played, and Andrew Schultz says the left was right about Trump. And during the last flagrant episode, they had on Sagar from Breaking Points, who also voted for Trump and is now really disappointed about how things are going. So he has the same frustration as Schultz, and that's probably why Schultz really likes having him on. So he can explain why Trump let them
got
down.
hurt.
Also, he feels betrayed by people he interviewed as well.
A
who are now part of Trump's
5.9,
administration,
bro.
like
This is
Tulsi
another
Gabbard.
fucking
Like
stinker,
in
bro.
shock about how quickly she abandoned her position on issues she claimed to have cared about.
Who was that, bro?
Administration.
Who is that? The player. Horrible.
We've got no shit for criticizing. I think what I'm the most disgusted
Oh, wait. Timo! That's how you score your first goal in the season.
So, like, let's say, for example,
Last 2 minutes. Nah. Oh, yes. Nah. I gotta admire the pass, though, from Baku.
Or excusing this type of behavior. And not only that,
That was horrible goalkeeping, but we don't care. We do not care.
The obvious, like, look, I could call it a takeover, but that's why I have to come back to Trump has agency. Trump has agency. He's the one who's decided to embrace this neoconservative agenda.
Yes, sir. Let's get these 3 points.
Nonsense. Venezuela.
Oh, Timo!
It's also about the people around him. They're not. If
Oh,
you
wow.
take your
What
role
a super show.
seriously, then you actively work for that type
Let's
of principle
go.
that you ran on and that you have literally sat across the table from me. And I'm not talking about one person. I'm talking about a lot of different people here. And like I said, I'm in a weird position because now I know
Let's
some
go.
of these people. Like I knew like this Tulsi. You know what I'm saying? Like
Let's
I told
go,
like
bro.
we sat across the desk. I thought it was real.
Dominated.
Like I really know. And I read a lot of books about politicians who lie to your face, but it's another thing. Like to experience it, to experience it at a visceral level.
Say please, bro, because we lucky cooked the last like 10 minutes.
I mean, I think three, four, right? How is this guy? I think the RFK's implication.
That loss to Dortmund is really gonna.
Operating within HHS and like they throw out this shit for the masses on Twitter, but like if you're hardcore,
We could get there, but that loss, man.
about the way that this administration.
So
That was a
Schultz and
horrible
Tim
game,
Dillon
yeah.
have completely jumped ship, which makes things more difficult for Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan, who are still trying to be friendly with the administration. Like, I think Trump personally calls Rogan sometimes, so Rogan's likely to hear full of it soon because his comedy buddies are really making Trump look bad. But let me know what you guys think about it all. And if you want to hear about Alex Jones crashing out over the way Trump's handled the Epstein files, I've been covering that over on Patreon. He just will not stop embarrassing.
Spotify's greed is finally backfiring. As it turns out, getting mentioned in the Epstein files wasn't Spotify's only bad news this year, because everyone is now leaving the platform. And it makes sense when you see them lying about their mission. We've always thought about how we can grow the number of creators that are successful on Spotify, and it really started with music in itself, fairly compensating the artists that are on the platform. That CEO's origin story being completely fake, or even with recent news that Spotify may have allegedly become a vessel for money laundering. But really, the final nail in the coffin is their plan to now replace artists entirely with AI artists, all while hollowing out the entire listening experience with AI algorithms made to make you listen to this stuff, also that they can nickel and dime real creators creators with mass-produced garbage AI, while at the same time endlessly raising their prices. So it's understandable why people are leaving the platform en masse these days. But the real question is, why are they even doing all of this to begin with? Well, it does start to make sense when you realize Spotify was never a music company. Their first patents talk about distributing films, TV shows, pictures, and whatever else they could get their hands on, as they wanted to dominate the entire entertainment industry. But they settled for music because it was the softest target. And despite what he says in his LinkedIn posts, Daniel Ek and his co-founder were never really music people either. Now, Ek often boasts about his childhood passion for playing the guitar, a detail which helps you stomach the idea that Spotify is trying to save music. For her brilliant book on Spotify, Mood Machine, Liz Pelly interviewed people who knew Daniel Ek when he was a kid. They told her that he was nothing special in that way. Playing an instrument was normally mandatory in Swedish schools. Instead, his talent was in business and advertising. At 13, Ek was a kid growing up in Sweden at the turn of the millennium. Even this young, he was already a businessman. By building and selling websites to small Swedish companies, he was already earning more than his teachers. And over the next few years, he bounced around various startups, working on things like a viral online game called Stardoor, where he would make vital connections in the advertising industry. But his first real money came from the sale of his startup at Vertigo, which allowed him at the age of 23 to have already made over $1 million. But this was only the start, as by now, Sweden was well on their way to a digital revolution. A massive internet infrastructure project had put the country at the very forefront of technology. In fact, it was Sweden that gave birth to the Pirate Bay, which would later become the premier website for online piracy and file sharing. During the early 2000s, Daniel watched as the site and its founders exploded in popularity, and then just got completely torn apart in the courts. This was a really unique problem. Tons of people just preferred file sharing and piracy. Even with the legal problems and the shady method and the risks involved, people chose online downloads over buying CDs or DVDs in person. It was clear that convenience was the most important thing for people above everything else. Meanwhile, the big record labels had been powerless to stop the Pirate Bay. They could arrest the founders and throw their weight around, but they couldn't really stop progress and rewind the clock. It was especially bad for the music industry. Music was much harder to download than full movies.
It was like a hamstring, no?
Record label profits had been
Oh man, 2 weeks.
Years, and there were no signs.
You're dropping stinkers
Meanwhile,
though.
their own efforts to make an alternative to the Pirate Bay had been
It's the last 5 right here.
early attempts like
Look
Press
at
Play
this.
service sponsored by
You're gonna get that
Universal
assist. He's getting that 5.8, bro. That's XG.
So this is when Daniel X saw an opportunity. If he could solve the convenience problem before the labels,
He was doing good in the first half of the season.
himself and his company as the middleman in the music industry.
Oh yeah,
Meanwhile,
enough.
he co-opted and assimilated the Pirate Bay into their approach of a complete database of free music. And so, with a small loan of €1 million from a wealthy advertising executive called Martin Lorentzen, Daniel Ek would make Spotify the answer to all of these problems. As technology progressed, the convenience problem got easier to solve. By 2006, it was possible for Daniel to set up a server where people could live stream songs almost instantly, without ever having to download them. At first, they kept sign-up numbers limited so they didn't overload the servers, but as the company grew, they could invest more and more in keeping things instant. The other big problem was the content. There was no way that Daniel Ek could get the music they needed from the record labels without striking some kind of deal. And at this point, there was no way they could trust some random guy with that level of access. So he did what over 1 million other Swedes had already done. He pirated it. This was a logical step. Ek had even previously been the CEO of uTorrent, so he knew the ropes. But he wasn't interested in the same crusade of free expression and a free internet that other pirates were. Instead, Daniel was purely motivated by profit. And the result was an application where you could listen to pretty much whatever song you wanted for free with minimal wait times. And somehow all
5, 2, 2, 1. Basically 5 in the back.
This was impressive, but they had also already figured out what Daniel X's game plan was. In her book, Liz Pelly asked one of the founders of the Pirate Bay about how he first heard about Spotify. He said that they were interested when they first heard about it, but that they quickly realized this was just another money-making machine. Daniel Ek and Martin Lorentzen were advertising dudes who wanted to sell more advertising and realized that music was cheap. If you start looking at Spotify as an advertising company rather than a culture company, a lot of things make more sense. This was the plan: merge piracy and its convenience while getting the record labels on board. At the same time, Spotify would rake in profits from advertising revenue. All they needed was to keep it functional and legal. So they hired a mixture of engineers and file-sharing experts, along with insiders in the music industry who get the right meetings and get their foot in the door. At any other point in history,
Those two
it
horses
wouldn't
scored
have
with
worked.
bangers.
The
I remember
record
those.
labels
Those were
were
the
in a
beginning
dead
of the
spot.
season.
Sales were down by nearly half in just a few years, and there was seemingly nothing they could do against piracy. It was especially bad in Sweden with its ingrained culture of piracy, and with the rise of the Pirate Bay, it seemed almost impossible to stop. Seeing this, Daniel Ek knew he had some leverage. At first, he appeared like an unassuming Swedish businessman who seemed to offer the music industry the solution to all of their problems, an answer for how they could maintain their control. But whatever it took to destroy the Pirate
I see us
Bay,
getting
they
no
would do
points
it.
off this game.
Yes, it took a lot of
Even though we should.
First,
But
they started small, giving only Spotify crumbs while taking a
that was a
massive
great
chunk
pass
of
right there.
the company in exchange for legitimacy. And
Just
a
all
deal
open.
gave a consortium of major record labels 80% of Spotify, along with a share of the ad money and even a deal for royalties per stream. The experiment worked, and soon Spotify was growing incredibly quickly in Sweden, while rolling out to other countries around the world. These launches meant separate deals each time, and one of these was leaked to the press, and it showed Spotify were willing to pay out tens of millions of dollars for just 1 year of access to the legit music catalog. But they didn't care. They got their foot in the door, and Spotify went from nothing to making millions almost overnight. And suddenly, like the Pirate Bay weren't as necessary. Now they could be finally taken down once and for all by the music and
Oof.
at the same
It's gonna
time,
be one of
in
those
the early
games.
2010s, there was excitement around Spotify. People legitimately thought that they were saving music, that they had created a legal way for people to enjoy music streaming without destroying the music business and hurting artists. In reality, though, Spotify had just figured out a way to pass those 50% revenue losses off onto the artists, all while taking a cut of the pie for themselves as well. Musicians from Sweden already knew this. They had already experienced being an artist on Spotify. Magnus Uggla, a well-known and popular Swedish artist, described his experiences in a blog post from 2009, comparing what he got in 6 months of Spotify revenue to, quote, what a mediocre busker could earn in a day. It would end up as a prophetic vision of an awful future. Spotify has worked hard to keep the revenue split low for artists, paying them an industry low compared to other streaming platforms. This policy has been as lucrative for Spotify as it's been terrible for music. They've grown massively as a company, and unfortunately, the stock market is still bullish about their exploitation plans. Jeffrey Epstein's decision in 2014 to take Peter Thiel's advice and not invest in Spotify early on was clearly a massive mistake. Valued at $5 billion then, it's now worth over $100 billion. And Daniel Ek will probably be thankful he never made that deal for multiple obvious reasons. Yet despite the often quoted 30 cents per stream number, Spotify insists that there is no number for how much each stream earns an artist, and the truth isn't really much better. Instead, they run an opaque system which pits each artist against each other to share the royalties they can earn in any given country. It means that independent artists with niche audiences barely get anything, while Spotify gets to claim that there isn't really a tiny number of people to latch onto. It's a psychological tactic. Spotify even raised the amount of streams you need to get paid to 1,000 in 2023.
Oh,
But even
14.
this is too much for them. Spotify would much prefer to not pay any royalties at all, keeping the revenue completely to themselves and their record label buddies. This is why recently Spotify has been doing something under the radar, something hidden away that hasn't really been spoken about by anyone. They've been funding so-called ghost artists who are anonymous freelancers who get paid pennies on the dollar to make generic, easy listening music for Spotify, which then means Spotify can fill up mass playlists without having to pay normal artists for their work. Although not often spoken about, the scandal even began all the way back in 2016, when the industry website of Music Business Worldwide reported on a strange set of songs and artists they had found in some of Spotify's fairly new chill playlists. They described a small set of artists who seemed to be completely made up by Spotify, but were still getting hundreds of thousands of plays on the platform. Spotify vehemently denied the allegations, but clearly they had been experimenting with the idea. And by the next year, more ghost artists and ghost-written songs were discovered, and more denials then came along from Spotify. Quote, we do not and have never created fake artists and put them on Spotify playlists. Categorically untrue, full stop, they said. But the evidence begged to differ. MBW next identified the source of the songs, another Swedish company called Epidemic Sound, who would pay artists to make stock and background music. Quote, we know for a fact that Epidemic-owned songs under fake artist names are being added to Spotify playlists with uncommon regularity. These songs were also getting
version far more often and appearing far more frequently in playlists. It was almost like Spotify had some kind of financial incentive to do this, so they didn't have to pay out royalties. Spotify kept on denying these claims until eventually they began ignoring them instead. Meanwhile, they ramped up Ghost song production every 5 years, playlists with them, to the point that they began outnumbering real artists in some official playlists. By 2022, labels specializing in these ghost artists had gained billions of streams on the platform. Billions. The problem wasn't with the quality of the music itself. The people behind these songs were still talented artists making good music. Instead, the problem was with pretty much everything else. Over time, playlists have become a very key way for Spotify users to listen to music. They're often the reason Spotify's 500 million users aren't willing to switch platforms, even when their favorite artists pull out or the CEO starts funding murder drones. They have too much time invested in the playlist they've made. Often established artists aren't big fans of playlists. Instead of getting to tell a whole story with a mix of emotions or an overall meaning, their songs then get split up and packaged with others just like them. Meanwhile, upcoming artists now have to consider how their songs will perform in playlists, compared to mass-produced music that is already designed for that format. They're incentivized to not risk doing things like having long intros or taking their time at the beginning of songs, or really doing anything which goes against people's expectations. They know that Spotify's algorithms are always watching and always listening, taking note of which songs get replayed and which get skipped. It all works to smother creativity. At first, Spotify used to hire people to create these playlists.
Okay, Baku. Bro, Baku's gonna be the player of the season if he stays healthy, bro.
Showcasing into the world, even if the system was still lopsided. But once the technology allowed it, they
Baku's
switched
been
over to
carrying the year, bro.
AI-created playlists
And,
instead.
I think he's like top scorer,
To have so many for every
top assister.
mood, all constantly cycling through different songs.
Nah, Baku's carrying
Spotify
the
has
year.
even created a system called
One more.
discovery mode. The idea is that labels and their artists can take an even lower share of the revenue that they already get in exchange for preference within the specific playlist algorithm. It's like a targeted
Wait,
advertising
what?
system that
Oh.
personalizes music onto people instead. Clearly, the founder of the Pirate Bay was right about how to see Spotify's tactics.
Of course.
Now you've got
There goes the comeback.
getting punished in certain directions based on a financial incentive. How many independent artists will have heard of
He's going left. He's going left.
big labels and ghost
I
artists?
knew it, bro. I knew he was this first goal of the season too.
Eventually, if it does catch on, everyone is incentivized to use discovery mode and
I
extend
want to look
less
at
of
that.
the royalties.
Spotify thinks that with 30% commission on these additional streams that they're getting for it, doesn't cost anything up front like Marquee or Facebook ads or something. Like everyone's using discovery mode. It's effectively like no one having discovery mode. Right now, you have a unique opportunity to have an advantage over a certain percentage of the music industry. So I think you'd be foolish not to take it, especially when it's free and you have essentially no risk of losing anything.
I gotta change new formation. No, not new formation, new rules.
Spotify wins, music loses yet again.
Alright, new
But
stuff.
even this isn't enough for Spotify. They can't
I mean, he's not
just
traditional
accept
right winger,
royalties
but
from discovery mode.
that's just a
Only
bad
pay
move.
once for ghost artist music. Instead, they want to go all the way back to not paying for music at all. And this is where AI music comes in, the final part of their process. If they can make it an acceptable part of the platform, it means even more profits for Spotify and Daniel Ek. Unfortunately, this process has already begun. In 2022, Spotify began a project to create a system called Soundscape. The idea was that with generative AI, people could simply put in a mood or a feeling or a vibe, and the AI would create an endless song based on the prompt. Clearly, even Spotify thought this was too much too soon, so they scrapped it, only to release a beta version of a similar feature just a couple of years later. Instead, they began proliferating their platform with AI music instead. Like Ghost Music, it often finds itself in playlists and gets millions of plays. When specific AI artists or songs make the news, they remove them. But they don't label any of the songs as AI yet, and they're in talks with the labels about how to incorporate it into their system properly. You can be sure that their new AI DJs will happily recommend it to their audiences. There have already been some notable casualties from this policy. Now, don't get me wrong, lo-fi hip-hop and the people who listen to it have always been obsessed with nostalgia, but now they get nostalgic for music that came out just a few years ago. It's all because of the AI music. Lo-fi hip-hop was the perfect genre for it to infect. All of the nuances, the creativity, and the details that make people actually like the genre, it's fairly easy to replicate. Just put a piano melody over a beat, add some modern background sounds, distort it, and you've got a half-baked lo-fi hip-hop song. In the past couple of years, AI has got to a point where it can make thousands of these in minutes. Unlike other genres, nearly everyone listens to playlists full of unknown artists rather than albums or singles. Slip one or two AI songs in there and nobody would notice. But the more of them you add, the more you lose. And by 2025, people were left wondering what had happened to Spotify. And that's when it became harder and harder for Daniel Ek to hide who he truly was. He's gone from either being seen as a disruptor or not known at all by the public to being someone synonymous with unearned exploitation. It got so bad that he had to even step back from being CEO of Spotify, as he's been causing scandal after scandal. Most recently, his very own venture capital firm announced 600 million euros of investment in a company called Lepzig, a firm specializing in drone warfare. They promised to only ever sell to democracies, but how much does that term even mean when King Jong-un holds fake elections? Plus, nobody really believes corporate promises anyway. It's why recently a growing wave of artists like Massive Attack has called for boycotts on Spotify, and another scandal could easily push things over the edge. Whether or not this will go anywhere else, though, remains to be seen, but it might not matter anyway. Spotify is losing market share across the board. Massive companies like Amazon, Apple, and Google have all been pushing their own music streaming services. Apple Music had their best year yet in 2025. And Spotify's main route for future growth are new markets and continents where the internet rollout is still ongoing. But here, they could run up against their old enemy again, piracy. Developing countries in places like Africa and Asia have strong cultures of reproducing media, and governments have much bigger fish to fry than stopping it. Lots of people just won't have the money to pay a subscription as well, and when the internet hits, they'll switch to torrenting instead. And funnily enough, the same problem is coming back in the developed world as well. If Spotify keeps raising their prices, they then risk getting undercut by their competitors, or people turning to the high seas to skip paying entirely. Convenience, as we've seen, is worth a lot, but every time Spotify tests that price tag, it's a massive gamble, especially as the quality gets diluted every year with all of this garbage. At the end of the day, other services like SoundCloud might not be perfect, but at least they offer a far better, more ethical way of listening to music than using Spotify. Lots of apps now also let you transfer your playlists, and if people continue to find out about this, it means the barrier for switching will become lower and lower. Really, none of the options are perfect, and everything other than going back to vinyl seems like it's exploiting someone. But Spotify's plan to become the worst one around really doesn't seem like a winning strategy, and if they carry on like they are, then they deserve to lose everything.
Wolves versus Arsenal, a game where I should have been having fun watching my team pull Wolves on the hub. That's what I thought would happen today. But no, that did not happen. Here were both lineups. For Arsenal, as you can see here, Saka is starting over Eze in the number 10 spot. And there's some human beings that are telling me Eze has been a good signing so far. Sure, buddy. And for Wolves, here is their starting lineup. A bunch of nobodies. Now, hope I am not going to disrespect them after what they did to us today. No. I'm not going to call them a nobodies. I'm going to call them a bunch of tryhards, because that's exactly what they were. The game started off with Saka scoring early on to make the game a 1-0. At this point, I think 90% of the world thought that, okay, Arsenal are going to teach Wolves a lesson. After they gave us a heart attack at the Emirates. In the first half, it was all us. Look at Wolves' stats right here in the first half. They did nothing. The second half started and we scored early on through Nkapie to make the game a 2-0. Now, when we went 2-0 up, I posted this. And if y'all know the lore of this channel, there's a theme. If I post it during matches, any match, the team bottles every single time. Yesterday, I posted PSG are losing. Guess what happened? They ended up winning 3-2. Against Brentford, I posted this. 3-2. Liverpool versus Man City, I posted this. Liverpool ended up losing. I did this multiple games, and every time I'm with a team, they end up losing. It got to the point where people are now begging me to stop posting during games. Multiple people. So when I posted against Wolves, I thought there was no way. Wolves, the worst team in Premier League history, is going to do something. 2 minutes after I posted that, I heard the saxophone. And Bueno would score the fakest goal of all time. Mind you, this is his first ever Premier League goal. What also pissed me off with that goal is this man had a text under his shirt. Either this man did not rate us at all to have a text under his shirt, or the Premier League is scripted. It's either those two. And I want to believe the Premier League is scripted, because I don't want to believe a left back had confidence to score against us. I don't want to believe that at all. After that goal, it was all Wolves. And this man right here, this Mane dude, this guy hates us, man. This guy owns us. Every time he plays against us, he plays it really, really well. With Wolves owning us in the second half, They got one last chance, and the biggest betrayal in human history would happen. I'm talking worse than Anakin Skywalker falling to the dark side. Owen goal, one score against us. Our player of the season so far switched on us to make the game. When that goal went in, it was over. It was done. How are we drawing away to Wolves, one of the worst teams in Premier League history? And to make matters worse, next week we have the North London derby with Igor as the new manager. So there's gonna be the fake ass managerial bounce. Whatever happens on Sunday, just make it quick, Tottenham. Just make it quick and let me move on with my day. Let me take that Bissouma 40-yard screamer and let me move on with my life. I'm reliving the same season again. Bro, we're stuck, bro. We're stuck in a shutting gun right now, bro. We are actually stuck in a shutting gun. Never mind the bottom side. This is the first time in Premier League history a team at the top of the table has let in a 2-goal lead slip up against a team in the relegation zone. Premier League is sensational. What do you mean Wolves just got a point against Arsenal on a random midweek? Come on, City, lock in. The bottle is on. Oh my god, now we got rival fans trying to do this gimmick, man. Arsenal next in 3 league games are Spurs, Chelsea, and Brighton. Forget about the next 3 league games. Forget about that. I'm scared against Tottenham, bro. I'm really scared. Alright, next game we need to talk about is Benfica versus Real Madrid. And this was an anticipated matchup. After Benfica beat Real Madrid with that last-minute goalkeeper header, this game was very, very much anticipated. And you would think this game would be all about football, right? No, it went completely sideways. It started off with Benfica being the better team. They were by far the better team in the first half. But in the second half, it will be Madrid that would hit first and through Vinicius Jr., who would score a world-class goal. But this is where everything went downhill. Not because of the goal, but because of certain actions. You see, after scoring that goal, Vinicius Jr. does this a silly dance celebration. For some reason, the referee decides to give him a yellow card. So Vinicius Jr. gets angry and starts arguing with the referee, and rightfully so.
No penalty?
Why is he getting a yellow card for no reason? Mind you, Griezmann was out here doing the L celebration, and this man never picked up a yellow card. But anyways, with him picking up a yellow card while beating his argument, this coward covers his mouth and says this. Now, this whole situation gets even crazier after the game. See, Jose Mourinho was asked about this situation, and Jose being a huge figure in football, people were calmly waiting for what Jose Mourinho would say. But then, this man
I'm saying, bro,
says,
Baku's going to be the player of the season.
you are actually the last person on earth who should talk about how another human being should celebrate. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and Exhibit D. I go on all day long. How is celebrating
That's crazy.
a
They
bad
thought,
thing? If you're mad about the celebration, don't let him score. Then Jose Mourinho also says, I told him the biggest person in the history of the club is a black player. Brother, that's the same thing as saying, I'm not racist, my friend is black. I am very, very disappointed with Jose Mourinho because everyone respects Jose Mourinho. There is not a football fan out here that doesn't respect him. But for him to come out and say this, like, come on, bro. Like, you can do better, Jose Mourinho. Anyways, with all that negative press towards Benfica and that disgusting player, Benfica decided to do the most brain dead thing you could do as an organization.
offside.
They
Offside.
this.
He's offside.
What do you need?
Harder was offside. He's offside. No way he's not.
We are 1010% in a soft
I know
part.
it.
What happened
How
to
bad
Vinicius
is it?
Jr. is disgusting
How bad
and it
is
needs to
it?
change.
Gotta
I
be
am
bad.
1010% sure this man is say something.
Let's see this.
Because there is no reason for you to cover your mouth. If it was
Oh
something
my
about this,
god.
nobody
Get
would
this
care.
shit out.
But
That's
that's the
crazy.
reason why he covered his face. And also Mbappe, the way Mbappe crashed out, we don't see Mbappe crash out on the pitch. He's usually a nonchalant guy. But the way Mbappe crashed out on the pitch, this man 1010% said something. Also, fun fact about this kid, his screensaver is Vinicius Jr. That's right. His screensaver is Vinicius Jr. playing against him. Let's see what the organization of UEFA is going to do. I am really intrigued what their punishment is going to be. I know they ain't cooking up nothing. Before we move on to the next segment, I am begging you, if you can stand, please stand and let us pay our respects towards the Serie A because the Serie A is officially a dead league.
Carl. Oh, it was offside anyways. This motherfucker's just running. If we can't score 3 goals,
Serie A and be one of the best midfielders. I knew that he was finished. When I saw Scott McTominay win the Player of the Season
Pen,
in his
penal.
first season at the Serie A, I said that he is not wrong. And what I say stands. Atlanta also lost to Dortmund. Napoli did not even make it to the knockouts. Napoli won the league last
Oh my God,
season.
let's go.
Listen, the
Great
only team
pass,
who really
great
looks like in the
finish.
Serie A is Inter Milan. And even them, they employed Lautaro Martinez, one of the biggest strikers of all time. We lose those UCL spots to one. Still can't believe Napoli did not make it to the knockouts. I honestly cannot believe they did not make it to the knockouts. Anyways, guys, that's all I got. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.
2 years ago, I did a video titled La Liga has a serious problem, which was going in depth into the abuse that Vinicius Jr. received not once, not twice, but multiple times by multiple different clubs in La Liga during the period of 2023. The most documented, most well known is his experience at Valencia at the
Was
Mestalla
that
Stadium.
saved?
On the topic
Damn.
of Vinicius Jr., I did do a video about how the entire Ballon d'Or fallout happened when himself and the entirety of the Real Madrid team boycotted the event. I did a video responding saying that I think that was a complete lack of respect for other peers in his industry. For me personally, I just see it as someone that's just throwing their toys after the pram. Not just him, but of course Real Madrid as a whole. And because of that video, I received a few comments from people saying, "Oh, I'm keeping quiet now."
To be honest,
no,
I gotta
these are two very
stop
separate
this
things,
more.
two very separate incidents. And I think a lot of people are missing the point, not with me, but with the situation in general. You can hold the belief that you think Vinicius Jr. is antagonistic, that he's someone that winds up the crowd, that he's someone that is seen as a villain. You know who else in football history is seen as the villain a lot? Luis Suarez, Roy Keane, Pepe, Sergio Ramos, Jamie Vardy, for God's sake. These are players that antagonise fans, antagonise players, and are seen as villains of sport.
Oh
Jamie
no,
Vardy
Werner
goes
already
to fans and knows his
played.
ears. You know what they're going to be calling him? They call him like a prick. Or like a wanker or something. And that's the same thing you could say to Vinicius Jr. You can call him all those things. You can call him a wanker if you want. Fans at stadium scream that to the players on the pitch weekly. But it doesn't mean that it should therefore lead to racist abuse. And it's even more mental when it's coming from not just the fans, but the players. The game itself, Benfica v Real Madrid, there's a little bit of history there based on what happened the last match day when the goalkeeper scored the winner to get them to the playoffs in the first place. There's a little bit of history there between the fans. Vinicius Jr., left-hand side, cuts in, scores a beautiful goal from outside the box, and then runs to the corner flag, the Benfica corner flag, and starts kind of shimmying, dancing on it. This was seen by many fans and the players themselves, including Otamendi, as I guess a lack of respect, as if he's dancing on the club's badge kind of thing. You know that dumbass meme? You got like Rio Ferdinand refusing to step over a team's badge, when it's at the team stadium. This kind of thing. It seems like a lack of respect. Again, you can call him a wanker for this. You don't need to be racist. Gianluca Prestiani, Argentinian winger. Argentines have got, somewhat of a history in recent years in terms of Enzo Fernandez for accusations of racism. And after the 2022 World Cup with France and the accusations there from the players, it doesn't bode well for them.
What? Oh man. Oh jeez. Christ, I believe I'm saying. Oh, what a save.
Vinicius Jr.
incident happened, that it was actually Kylian Mbappe going back and forth with Prestioni the entire time. It was Mbappe that was actually angry of something that he said. So Mbappe was already hearing something from him before even Vinicius Jr. even heard, like a good 30-40 seconds beforehand. Prestioni, obviously, Argentine midget, was having his shirt over his mouth so no one can interpret what he said, no lip reader can see what he was saying. Now, in the balance of fairness, this isn't anything new. Players on the pitch always talk to each other all the time by doing this typically, and that's just to avoid the cameras seeing what they're saying. Usually I'm sure there's talk about just some meaningless nonsense, or sometimes maybe dissing their play. Like imagine like Holland and Gabriel like talking on the pitch going, suck you up. You know, maybe that's what's saying. So we all know the situation now. The most important thing is what's happened after the fact, and which is very important to get right. So what was actually said by the words of Kylian Mbappe? Then the number 25 of Benfica, I don't want to say his name, he does not deserve it, began to speak badly, which can happen to in football, but then he put his shirt over his face to say that Vinicius is a monkey 5 times. I heard it, there were Benfica players who heard it too. From that point, all that you saw happened. Benfica, of course, coming out with a statement, including Rui Costa, saying that this is completely false, despite the fact that they can't prove otherwise. They're just taking Cristiano's words for it. But of course, they went back up their player. I can get that to an extent, but in that case, why lift up your shirt? What was he actually saying underneath that shirt? What did Prestioni actually say? According to him, apparently, according to sources, he told the referee that apparently he said brother, which in Portuguese is irmão, or irmão. I'm not Portuguese, but it sounds like this. Irmão. And where in Spanish, monkey means mono, so irmão and mono, he's thinking that's where he got things mixed up. That's what he's trying to say. But then there's kind of like the obvious thing of like, why would you lift up your shirt to say brother? Kind of thing. This is the thing for me. Mourinho's comments, of course, have come out, and a lot of critique, of course, like Thierry Henry has come out and talked because he was on the CBS Go Live. So, hey, why should Prestioni say sorry? Look, I've spoken to 2 players. Vinny tells me one thing, Prestioni tells me something else. I don't want to be red and say that I only believe Prestioni, but I don't want to be white and say that Vinicius told me the truth. I don't know. That wasn't really the thing that annoyed people. This was Vinicius scored a goal that only Vinny or Mbappe can score. Then he has to go to the arms of his teammates and not confront 60,000 people in the stadium. In how many stadiums has this happened? How many? He's a player from another world. I love him. But when you score like that, jump into the arms of your teammates, from there the game was over. In the eyes of many people, this is seen as Mourinho kind of justifying racist abuse if someone's acting in a certain way. Why can't you be just normal and celebrate with your teammates? And my response to that is Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy literally has like annoyed like half of the entirety Premier League. When Jamie Vardy scores a goal, Chris Patterson does an eagle celebration. No one's saying anything that bad. They call him a wanker, but then it ends there. He seems a legend online. Yes, he's dancing on the corner flag. He didn't like wipe his boss of it. People are reading Mourinho by saying that it's okay to racially abuse him if he's provoking you. Which again, just call him a wanker. It's really not that hard. You don't need to be racist. Of course, there are some footage of like fans in the crowds, people doing monkey gestures and things like that, which isn't going to help their case. Even on the commentary, you got Mark Clattenburg saying that he made it difficult for the referee, and yes, he's not helped himself here. Again, similar to Mourinho saying that whatever behaviour that Vinicius Jr. had is almost saying that he's asking for racist abuse. Just call him a wanker. It's not that hard. You hear it every week at football. Oh wait, I just forgot. Mourinho also said, and this is great, he said in his own words, the biggest person in the history of Benfica is Eusebio, and he is black. So therefore, they can't be racist. And when the actual official Benfica account is posting some video online with the quote, as the images demonstrate, given the distance, Real Madrid players could not have heard what they claim to have heard. And you're looking at the clip, and Mbappe is literally like, I don't know, like a sheer like meter or 2 away. He's not far away to hear this. And this is why this is important, because people are stupid. You've seen people online who gets like 10,000 likes on the post that's like saying Vinicius Jr. provoked him, and he said some words back, and then he went to his referee crying like a little girl, lying on a kid. 10,000 likes. 10,000 likes. So yeah, moral story is, just call someone a wanker. It's a lot more easier. It sounds a lot better as well. Benfica will obviously back up their player, and this is the annoying thing about the situation, because you actually just no one would know. No one would know the actual real truth here. My only kind of feeling is, I just don't know what would Mbappe or Vinicius, but especially Mbappe, as he's not actually directly involved in this, I just don't know what would they have to gain from lying in the situation. I don't know why would they have to lie about hearing this.
that's just my point of view. They have nothing to gain from this. But that's just me. Comment below your thoughts. See you.
I was not expecting to make a video today talking about how Arsenal just dropped points to one of the worst Premier League teams of all time. Wolves are horrible, man. They got 10 points, 17 losses. I mean, they're so in last place, it's not even funny. Oh my goodness, I chose to watch the Champions League over this yesterday. I just can't even believe that they've really done this. I did take the time this morning to watch the extended highlights. Obviously, I'm not going to watch the full 90 minutes. But I like watching the 10 to 15 minute videos so I can kind of just get a feeling of what's going on in the game. The 2-minute highlights are good if you're really running close for time or you're busy, but I wanted to see the flow of the game. And to be quite honest with you guys, Arsenal dominated this game, and it was a joke. It was a collapse. And I'm worried for a lot of reasons. So the Arsenal fans will be here for this video because they probably want to hear some viewpoints on the crisis that's going on with their team. Let me tell you, it's not a crisis yet, but we're heading in that direction. And I don't know if I'm disappointed with myself. I mean, this season, I think I'm fully committed to Arsenal winning trophies. I still feel like they're going to win a trophy. I put out a prediction saying 2 trophies about a month and a half ago. When I started the whole season, if you watch my Premier League predictions, I had them in 3rd place. And what I said about Arsenal
What was that pass, Carl?
No
one was there.
The way they were climbing in the Champions League year over year. But man,
Oh
if you're
my.
an Arsenal fan, I don't think you're out of left field to be really concerned about this.
Shoot that.
That's
Oh
bad.
my.
Wolves are not a good team. Don't let anybody convince you that this team is good. They're trash. And the fact of the matter is, you were up 2-0. And I guess it's the beauty of the Premier League on the road, and you end up choking this game. Guys, let me tell you something. You know, not everybody watches every game. Maybe everybody doesn't remember every season. Arsenal, I believe, had an 8-point advantage against Manchester City, which we will fact check in this video, in the 2022 to 2023 season. Not only did they lose to Man City 4-1, they got smoked. They only took 6 points out of the last 15 games, 15 points in April, and they ended up losing the league. That season. They were hardly getting points as the season went on. Then we go to the next season.
Oh my. Oh my God. Ain't no way that's Carl's first goal. That gotta be bullshit. That's his first goal of the season? That was a hell of a goal though. Hell of a pass.
They were smoking teams out at the end of the season, okay? Like a nice
Oh.
That's how they were cooking teams, alright? Then we get to last season.
Because I know he scored in the cup. That's his first goal this season. That's crazy.
Let me tell you, if it wasn't for GgNoRaGe, that could have been a different situation. There was moments where Arsenal could have taken that against PSG, who were flawless the whole season.
Oh,
Until
it
we
was
got to the summer
offside.
competition, which the Club World Cup, they got smoked in the final. But Arsenal, for me, I've been putting stock in this team. And now I'm getting concerned because when you have a result like this yesterday, it's showing an insecurity in your team and an inability to win the game.
Oh my God. Let's go.
Guys, this is not a video that we should be making. We should not be sitting here talking about how the hell did Arsenal drop points to Wolverhampton. When you look at the schedule, it's one thing where Arsenal got a massive game coming up on a down year Spurs team that they need to win that game, right? It's one thing that you win this game and then you drop points in that North London derby or you drop points against Man City, right? But you are in the driver's seat. You had a lead, and let's take a look before we even talk about this game, right? You are not doing enough. You are not doing enough. I know you're winning the matches, but if you want to go and be convincing, guys, they have 2 draws in games. They should not be drawing teams. Are they losing? No, but let's look at the upcoming schedule. So you're telling me that the team potentially, I'm just saying potentially because they haven't lost games, team morale, the team cohesion is down, and you're heading into a North London derby in which you are away. Okay, so I know the Spurs are Spurs still this season. I get it. But you're going to be away, and then you're going to play Chelsea. Bro, Chelsea's never easy. I mean, we just took the second leg. Yes, they advanced in the cup, but that was a 0-0, right? Or 1-0 at the end, but it was nothing really. I think it was 1-0 then. That was
Okay.
an 8.5
Good goal. I'm confused. What happened to the other goal?
I don't think Everton is ever easy. Brighton, I mean, Man City,
Great
Man City,
passing.
that one's coming up later. They got them in the cup first.
Great passing.
In which I'm going to predict. I think they're going to win that trophy. I think they will win that. It's going to be one of the 2 trophies they are going to win. But look. Arsenal, man, for the season, for the talent in the Premier League,
this season, this has to be the season you win. Recently, I would say the Premier League has been down in talent, and it's nothing against Arsenal. I think Arsenal is extremely well managed, but like I saw this tweet yesterday about somebody saying Arsenal should hire an offensive coach, like an offensive coordinator, because in American sports like eggball, they actually have defensive and offensive coordinators. Because I agree, you look at them at times in the attack and they just look, we start off the game. Saka has a really nice goal, a nice easy header. It was from Declan Rice. I mean, Declan Rice is playing out of his mind as always. Saka does a little confident celebration because they're like, look, we already scored against Wolves. Hincapie has a really nice finish in the 56th minute. And the way Wolves, the Wolves, we're talking at halftime, Wolves had like 0 XG, 30% possession. And the way that Arsenal let Wolves just slip into this game is very concerning for how low the level this Wolves team is. Now, yes, it's a Premier League team. Premier League football is so ridiculous. But Wolves are not a good team. Okay? They let them slip in. We got a banger of a shot from Hugo Bueno. All right? Way too much time. He gets in a 1v1. It's too relaxed. It's too nonchalant from Arsenal defensively, which is their strength. Lets the guy go one-on-one, cut inside, finish off our post. Boom. First goal. The second goal, let me tell you this. The second goal, I've never seen Raya and Gabriel look so out of sync and confused in my life. So maybe this is just the season wearing on them. It was a horrible decision for both of them, especially Raya. He buries it right to the Wolves player, and then Wolves get this like triple ricochet goal, and it's crazy because you watch the whole Wolves stadium erupt. Obviously, they're happy for their team. It's like they're all watching Arsenal. Arsenal just fail and crumble. And you know what's funny? The commentator on the Wolves broadcast, you know what he says? Wolves can go on and win it. Okay, this is not some intimidating league leader that we're dealing with here, right? And when we look at it, they're choking. Guys, say what you want. They are choking right now the league in front of our eyes. Now, I don't think Aston Villa is a contender here. I think Manchester United just dropped points in a game that they would have had to win that game to convince me. I know everybody wants to talk about the kid getting his haircut, but they got to win every single game to end the season, pretty much. Them or Chelsea if they want a chance. So for me, there's two contenders for this league, right? It's Arsenal and it's Man City. And Man City are starting to heat up a little bit. They got a big match against Newcastle, which just smoked in the Champions League yesterday. But what's happening recently, right? Man City in the last 2 games is taking 2 wins. Arsenal has drawn twice. And let's say Man City go ahead and win this game against Newcastle, which is an if, right? But now with Man City, right, this is where drawing against Wolverhampton is horrible. Newcastle, who I respect as a football club, I know they're not having the best Premier League season, but they're a tough team to beat, right? Newcastle, that allows Man City now to have a chance to drop points and still be within 4 points of them. That's the problem. So let's look at this. And before we go any in depth here, Villa wins the next game, 53 points, 5 points behind. Okay, so I don't think they're going to win, but they can contend, and they can look. If Arsenal is feeling the pressure in February against Wolves, can you imagine what this team is going to be feeling in the end of March or April? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yo, ref. Bro. I was about to say, bro.
But they're not doing a good job of closing it out. And Man City with 2 points behind, that's ugly. That's ugly. Man City after this Newcastle game, they're going to play Leeds, Forest, West Ham, Palace.
Hey, we got that clean sheet. I'm happy about that.
Arsenal could be in a lot of trouble. That Chelsea game is going to feel like a World Cup final. When we go back to the 2022-2023 season, you'll see they lost to Everton in February. They drew Brentford. They lost to Man City. They went on a crazy win streak after that. But then against April, where they were in a really nice position, they drew 3 games. They got cooked by Man City, beat Chelsea, beat Newcastle, lost to Brighton, lost to Forest, beat Wolves 5-0, and then they end up losing the league by 5 points with 84 points. So those 3 draws, some of those mistakes there, they really cost them, especially in April. So that's why I'm concerned about Arsenal. I still think they're in such a good position this season, but if they don't do it this season, I don't know what to tell you guys. And somebody was asking my opinion, should Arteta be out? Should he be out if they don't get the league or the Champions League this season? Maybe I'm crazy. I still don't think Arsenal would be in this position without him, but these boys got to figure it out. They got to get it going because there's not that many games left in the season. We got 5, 8, 11 matches left. We got 11 matches left, and when we look at the schedule, before what I was doing with Arsenal was I was saying, okay, everybody outside of Chelsea, Man City, maybe Newcastle, maybe Palace, right? You take a look at the table. maybe one up, you throw it on a team, it should be instant wins. But now that they're losing to Wolverhampton, look how bad Wolverhampton are this season. That's why I'm messed up now, and I have no idea what's going to happen in this damn team. I want to see what Arteta. I'm going to react at the end of this video. We're going to put on our headphones, and I want to see what Arteta's saying. I want to see what Arteta's saying in the interview, because you know what? Sometimes when I watch these interviews, I don't like the way Arteta doesn't really hold accountability, and this is on them yesterday entirely. They have to be winning this game. So let's see what he says.
Well, extremely disappointed, obviously, with the result, with the way the game ended. But we have to blame ourselves. I think the performance in the second half didn't show anything. I think it should have existed today, especially in the manner that we played the first half. So it's a moment of disappointment. We all want to talk a lot about how we're feeling. It's not the moment to do that, because anything that we do has to be always and only with the intention to help the team. And right now, I think we have to swallow that frustration. When you are at this level and at the top, you need to take the hits, because today we deserve them as well. And move on as quick as possible, because on Sunday we have a big game coming up. It was one after the other, to be fair. So it was a moment after another moment after another moment. So even though we scored the second goal, we never got ripped and dominance of the game. That's the reality, and that's some credit obviously to Wolf. I don't want to underestimate that, but I think we played a big part on that. And as I said, that's very basic things, very simple things that today we did really wrong, and that's why we had the feeling, mostly without really conceding much. But
They do, yeah, five in the bag.
the game open to anything that can happen. I think any question, any criticize, any opinion, you have to take it on the chin today. I think that's it. Any hit, any bullet, take it, because we didn't perform at the level that is required. So
Okay,
anything
you said.
everybody says can be right, because we didn't do what we had to do. And
No.
the way to do it is
If that's not a penalty, I don't know what is.
a great opportunity that we had.
So, you know what? He's taking accountability. Does that solve the issue? No. And Arsenal got a massive match against Spurs, guys. Massive match. I mean, Spurs back in 16th this season, but it's always tough in that type of environment. But let me tell you this. With where it's coming down to, I gotta say, we might have a situation on this April 18th Man City game where Man City are actually leading the league at that point.
Oh my jeez.
Because I'm looking at if Man City
That's like our fifth missed penalty this year, bro.
a couple tough games before that game that, you know what, if Man City go on a bit of a streak, we're gonna have to see. So man, I think this Premier
We're
League is
conceding
really
here.
come
I
down
already
to
see it.
I don't know what's gonna happen yet. I'm sticking with the 2 Arsenal trophies, but man, I think it's time to hit the panic button if you're Arsenal fan. This is scary. It's a really bad result. Really bad. Unacceptable if you want to win a title in the Premier League. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm having trouble
8
speaking today. I don't
goals.
know why it's the end of the day. I'm going to try our best to do this video. Give you guys my opinions and my thoughts. Mourinho, Vinny Jr., Gianluca, Cristiani, Benfica, this whole saga yesterday. Now, Vinny Jr. scores an absolutely crazy goal. Madrid wins this game 1-0. What happens after the goal? First of all, before we get into anything, uncomfortable conversations inbound for Vinny Jr. He's got 57 goals and assists now. He's ranked second in the Champions League for Brazilians all time with goals and assists combo, only to Neymar, who's got 67 in 71 matches. Vinny's going to absolutely shatter this record. He's phenomenal in the Champions League when he is on. He's going to have 80 or 90 consecutive goals and assists in the Champions League at the end of his career. And man, he may well get over 100. The goal yesterday was absolutely beautiful, cut inside finesse. And what does Vinny Jr. do after the goal? He starts dancing. You know, he starts thrusting his hips a little bit. I can understand Benfica being upset. You know, if I was home and Vinny Jr. scores that against me, okay, that's, you know, starts dancing like that, I'd feel like a little pressed. I'd probably go over to him. I'd probably be like, bro, get your ass out of here, right? But the problem lies, right? So Otamendi and Gianluca Cristiani, we don't even really know this guy that well. They go up to him after the goal. They start getting mad at him when he starts doing a little bit of extra, right? And then, Otamendi Otamendi, first of all, by the way, he's always just a player that, like, he's always annoying, right? He's always annoying. He's always in your face. He's not the guy that's going to tolerate you dancing on his home team. He feels disrespected. Okay, that's one thing. I'm all there for shit talking, bro. I understand shit talking. Guys, Vinny Jr., this is the one thing that people don't understand. I bet Vinny Jr. is one of the biggest shit talkers in football. I don't know anybody directly at Real Madrid, but let me tell you, Vinny Jr. is a very polarizing player. People either love him or really don't like him, right? Does not let any room for racism sneak in. No, there should never be racism in the world, right? Shit talking should not be connected to racism. And no, I'm not being woke and I'm not being soft. What the fuck is the point of racism? It's the lowest IQ stuff to do, to hate on someone aggressively because of race. Whatever you are, if you're black, if you're white, if you're Asian, whatever ethnicity or part of the world you're from, if you are hating on someone else because of their color or where they're from, you're just a fucking loser, man. That's the first part, right? And look, this is coming from the guy that's all down for shit talk. It's not acceptable to be racist, okay? So that's what I want to get out of the way. To any ethnicity, to anybody, why would you be racist? You're just a moron if you're being racist. Because, like, someone that's actually a thoughtful, good-souled individual is never going to point or think directly to racism. Even in a moment where someone was annoyed, an example like of a Benfica player, was Otamendi at any point racist to Vinny Jr.? No, he was just pissed off that he was celebrating like that, right? So I want to get that out of the way before we get into the Prestiani and this whole situation, right? Because basically what happens, Vinny gets a yellow card for the celebration. Okay, ref doesn't, look, for me, guys, if I scored that goal in the Champions League as Vinny Jr., I probably would have done way worse stuff. I probably would have thrust him for 15 seconds. Okay, whatever. You get a yellow card. You get a yellow card for taking your shirt off. I have done that before. I scored a game winner. I took my shirt off. I got a yellow card, right? It's a part of the game. I've seen way worse celebrations than the one Vinny Jr. did. He gets the yellow card. Okay, that's one thing, right? Then what happens, though, is that when they're getting past, right, Prestiani does this, right? He says some words to Vinny Jr., okay? He's a younger Argentine player. Now, let's get it out of the way. Let's establish two things in this video, okay? Guys, I am friends with a lot of Argentine people. Okay? Like a lot. I have a lot of friends that are Argentine. I play football with a lot of them. The ones that I'm close with or know are not racist. I don't even know if I could give you a time where they even made a comment, right? Now, I believe, don't quote me on this 100%, Argentina as a nation, okay? It's not labeling everybody who's Argentine, but anybody that keeps up, I believe they've been ranked by like the Spectator Index the last few years as like the most racist country. I believe. I think it goes back and forth between Italy and Argentina in the rankings the last 20 years. Right? And we see a lot of racism in Serie A games. We always hear stories about that. Does that mean everybody in Argentina is racist? No. It's not generalizing it. But I'm going to say this as well about the Argentine national team. We have seen many things coming out of the Argentine national team that are racist. We've seen it. We've seen IG Lives. I'm not going to repeat them. The stuff after France. The stuff with Enzo. Guys, there's been a lot of situations, okay? Okay. Who hates Brazil the most? Argentina. Who hates Argentina the most? Brazil. Guys, what people are not understanding at a deeper level too, there's a massive rivalry between Argentina and Brazil. So they fucking hate each other, okay? Does that leave any room for racism? No. I don't think Otamendi was racist. But what I will tell you is this Prestiani kid who's 20 years old and probably has a short guy complex who's 5'4". He's like 5'4". Short guys always are angry and snippy like this, right? He probably said something racist, and I'm going to explain why. I can't show you the exact footage. When I watch the game, I understand Vinny Jr. is very good at taunting people. He has tactics like that do that. Do I think Vinny Jr. is farming someone to be racist to him? No. No. I think the Argentines fucking hate him. I think they hate Brazilians. Doesn't mean they're all racist to him? No, they're not. So this guy made a comment who happened to be Argentine. And look, he did this, right? If you're doing this, you don't want anybody lip reading what you're saying on TV. That's the first crime that I'm seeing here. The first moment of guilt. Okay? What's the second moment of guilt? Vinny Jr. immediately runs to the ref. Right after it happened. Right after it happened, he sprints to the ref. If Vinny Jr. was making up that apparently Prestiani, it looks like, and we'll go over the tweets, called him a monkey like 5 times, right? Which is, why the hell, I can't believe anyone even says that to people. Like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? How does that even, like, what does Prestiani get out of that?
Is he just working for Satan and that makes him feel good because he's saying something fucked up to somebody else? I don't fucking know, bro. I'm not racist. I would never know what goes through the mind of somebody who is racist. So my take when I was watching the football game, I was sitting on the couch. I said, "Look, Vinny is definitely right. He was definitely racist to him, 100%. Because if Vinny wanted to make that up, he probably would have waited like 2 or 3 seconds and then ran to the ref. The fact that he heard the word and sprinted right away, I think it definitely happened. I can't show you guys too much because I'm gonna get copyrighted. I gotta somehow minus out of this. I don't even know how to. So Prestiani, look, we're gonna talk through this stuff. So basically, I've got a couple tweets pulled up here. So we have stuff coming out now about Mbappe, and so Mbappe told TNT Sports, "I believe Gianluca Prestiani shouldn't come to the Bernabeu, the best stadium in the world. He doesn't deserve it. He shouldn't play." Okay, so this is the Vinny Jr. statement. He says, "Racists are above all cowards. They need to put their shirts in their mouths to show how weak they are. But they have the protection of others who theoretically have an obligation to punish them. Nothing that happened today is new in my life or in my team's life. I have received a yellow card for celebrating a goal. I still don't understand why. On the other hand, it was just a poorly executed protocol that served no purpose. I don't like to appear in situations like this, especially after a big win and when the headline should be about Real Madrid, but it's necessary." My reaction, look, I understand with Vinny too, because he ends up always in the headlines because he's just one of those players that causes drama with his antics. And he seems to piss off a lot of people, right? So Mbappe goes and says, "Cristiani called Vinny a monkey. It happened 5 times. I saw that. UEFA have the best cameras. Now we wait. This is not acceptable. It's not my kind of human being." Benfica are a top club, nothing against them, but Prestiani should never play in the UCL anymore. Did Prestiani apologize? Did you see his face on apology? We're not stupid. Me and Vinny, we saw what he said. Okay, this is what Mourinho said, which is where this all gets a little bit more interesting. Mourinho says when it happens in so many stadiums on Vinny Jr., always with the same, there is something wrong. Okay, I lost a lot of respect for Mourinho here. I still respect Mourinho in terms of his football accomplishments, but as a human, I understand he's standing on the side of Benfica. I understand that. But in a case where there's racism, allegedly still, we don't have proof. I'm just saying my analysis of watching the way Vinny reacted to it, how he sprinted to the ref right away. Mourinho's side of it is that, look, Vinny, you wouldn't receive racism if you didn't appear in the antics. Okay, let's go over. And guys, look, I'm not trying to sit here and be all woke and stuff, but for me, there's no place for this shit in football, man. It's nasty. It's nasty to be racist to somebody. It's the least. It's the most disrespectful thing you can do is be racist to people. Like, seriously. When you do something like this, I understand it's one thing to be offended, and so Mourinho is basically saying, "Hey, Vinny, show some more class. Don't do celebrations." Mourinho, have you watched Brazilians play football? I'm sure you've managed a lot of good Brazilians. Man, these guys like to dance. All right, these guys like to dance. So Mourinho says, "I told Vinny, you scored a wonder goal, and why did you celebrate like that? Why can't you celebrate with just the happiness of being a great player?" Okay, so Mourinho says, "I told Vinny Jr. the celebration had to be different. This club had Eusebio as a legend, a black player. Benfica is not a racist club." Okay, this is for me with Mourinho, man. All right, it was terrible initially when he said that Vinny should be celebrating differently, because essentially what he's saying is you got the racism delivered to you because you started dancing and thrusting at the corner flag. Bro, nobody deserves racism, man. That's first thing of respect lost for Mourinho. The second thing, bro, nobody called Benfica racist. And what does this have to do with Eusebio, a black player, being the representation of the Benfica legend? So if I made a racist comment and you accused me of being a racist, and I said, no, I'm not a racist because I have 5 Asian friends. No, I'm not a racist. I have 5 Indian friends. No, I'm not racist. I have 5 white friends. I have 5 black friends. How does that make somebody not racist if they were racist? That doesn't excuse you. So just because Benfica has a legend of Eusebio, what is he talking about? And first of all, nobody was even I wasn't accusing Benfica of being racist. I was accusing Cristiani of being racist. Because clearly he was saying some racist stuff to Vinny, enough that literally within a millisecond, Vinny runs to the ref saying, "Referee, this guy was racist to me. I scored a goal. I started dancing. I started thrusting. You gave me a yellow card, and now this player was racist to me." That's for me. Madrid manager saying, Arbeloa saying, go ask Prestiani what he said. It's unacceptable. We cannot accept these things. Ask Prestiani. Look, these guys don't want to repeat it. Fede Valverde, Uruguayan, South American player. When you cover your mouth with your shirt to say something, it's obviously to say something really ugly. Look, it's either that or it's legends talking between legends that don't want the TV to pick it up. He clearly said something he didn't want anybody picking up on Twitter with the era of social media. So now, UEFA, they're going to do an investigation. We'll talk about that in a minute. Will they be able to really figure it out? I don't know. If they get enough witnesses that can say that they all heard this, he's probably going to be found guilty and banned, I would assume. He said a word that should be never used. It was pathetic what he said. It's really, really bad. Mourinho, red card. Benfica official statement. Benfica supports and believes the version of facts presented by the player Gianluca Prestiani, whose conduct in service of the club has always been guided by respect for opponents, institutions, and principles that define Benfiquista identity. The club regrets the defamation campaign of which the player has been a victim. Like, that's where, for me, I understand you want to defend your club. What I don't understand, and so what? This was the weirdest part for me. Benfica as a club, this is now where people are starting to call them a racist club. Because they're going overtime, yes, to defend their player. On Twitter, they're starting to say, as the images demonstrate, given the distance the Real Madrid players could have not heard what they were saying. So now they're trying to run a campaign trying to prove that it's impossible for there to be third-party witnesses. So UEFA has to now determine, is it Vinny's word we believe or is it Prestiani's word? They're trying to now prove that nobody else heard it when multiple Real Madrid players said that they heard it. So now UEFA's opening an investigation after the Vinny incident, and they're opening a disciplinary investigation. Mbappe's been a huge believer, saying Mbappe delivered a scathing assessment of what he witnessed on the pitch. There's Benfica number 25. I don't want to say his name because he doesn't deserve to be named. That started speaking badly. Then he pulled his jersey up here, covering his mouth, and he called Vinny a monkey 5 times. I heard it. There are Benfica players that also heard it. This player doesn't deserve to play in this competition. We have to give the best example for youngsters. The UEFA statement said they have a ethics and disciplinary inspector appointed to investigate allegations and further stuff. And Prestiani denies the allegation, saying, at no point did I direct racist insults at Vinny Jr., who unfortunately misunderstood what he thought he heard. I've never been racist towards anybody, he wrote. Vinny, who has frequently been a target for racial abuse throughout his career. Racists are above all cowards and need to cover their mouths. Look. This is the fact of the matter. There's going to be a side here that says that Vinny is making this up. I am going to take someone at their word when I watch the reaction of Vinny that I saw yesterday. I just felt like my reaction would have been like, okay, maybe Vinny is overdoing this if he waited a couple seconds and then kind of ran to the ref. When I saw Vinny instantly hear that word and run to the referee, I was like, dude, he's definitely guilty. Say what you want about Vinny, because there's going to be a whole side that just hate Vinny. Because look, guys, look at his celebration, the way he acts. I get it. He's annoying. Is it any excuse to let racism slide or for him to be racist? And I'm seeing on Twitter, people are saying right now that Vinny's making up that all these people are being racist to him. I doubt that. That would be a psychotic behavior disorder if somebody was just making that up. And there's always a lot of drama around Vinny, so that's now why there's other sides to this that are looking at it saying, well, there's always drama around Vinny. Maybe he is making all this up. My analysis on the situation is that I don't like, the main thing I didn't like here, obviously besides the racism that is being, is in the alleged things that were said. I don't like how Mourinho is saying, like, you should change the way you act, right? Because players are always going to be players the way they play. Just like, essentially, like, I'm getting from this that, like, I love Mourinho, I do, but Mourinho is basically saying to him, like, hey, man, you wouldn't have racism if you didn't celebrate so much. And, like, in the case of Vinny Jr., Mourinho, honestly, is probably right. But when you say that to him, you're basically saying, well, because you want to celebrate this way, you're going to get racism. There should never be racism. That's the point of this video. No one should be racist to anybody. There's no excuses for it. And so, like, I understand Mourinho is saying that to Vinny, saying you wouldn't have all these issues with drama if you acted with a player, like, having more class, hardly celebrating. But, man, if you score goals like that, you should be able to do whatever you want. I've seen way worse celebrations, like, way worse stuff than him going and dancing for 3 seconds at the corner flag. So, for me, I gotta side with Vinny on this one. I think he's in the right. Watching his reaction,
Yo,
watching a
ref.
player like Mbappe, man, like Mbappe
Ain't no
and
way,
Valverde,
ref.
and these players saying what they're saying about it, I have to trust these players, bro. I don't think they would all be making this up in some grand scheme, especially when they won the game. Like, it's not even like they're using an excuse that they lost the game. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, guys. For me, racism, always intolerable. Should never be a thing in society. And let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Oh, wow, that's astounding. Absolutely elite form. And he sticks the landing as well. Please excuse me, sir. I'm hella injured. I think my knee's fallen out. Oh, yeah, looks serious, that. But his knee's fallen out. And it's stuck the landing. Yo guys, it is your boy Niran here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst what football has to offer during the last 7 days. Let's once again get this episode to 6,000 likes. You guys have been smashing it recently, and you'll unlock my next video then. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, it's been Valentine's Day, you saucy minxes. The Premier League posted some custom Valentine's cards to commemorate the occasion, suggesting that loving you is Eze. But like Eze, most of our Valentines don't seem to exist at the moment. It's a wholesome time of the year for those coupled up. Roses, dinner dates, ads for a Super Bunny Megalodon 3000 on Deliveroo. These times more of an issue for someone like Kyle Walker, dishing out more cards on Valentine's than Michael Oliver. Look, listen, I can explain. Well, after my Valentine's Day, I was looking at the bill, realising I did not have the facilities.
I have nothing to say about the game at all.
On to the football though now, and boy, has it been explosive. No, but genuinely, I actually like you all equally. And we start off in the Black Country. No, that's not what Gianluca Prestiani calls Brazil. We'll get back to him later. We head to the West Midlands, a sentence that no man has ever wanted to say. Where only 2 Premier League teams have actually played this week, and Arsenal somehow managed to come out of it third best. The Gunners could have gone 7 points clear with a win versus already EFL approved Wolves. The issue is they like the number 2 so much, they elected to give Man City a chance to narrow the gap to that instead.
It's happened again.
Arsenal threw away a 2-goal lead against bottom of the table after a 94th minute equaliser. Wolves made history here. This is the first time a team placed 20th in the league has ever come back from 2 goals down against first to draw. And it now means 2 wins in 7 for Mikel Arteta's depressed Reds. February saw people looking to get lucky on Valentine's Day, but it was the Gooners getting pumped by Wolves. Noni Madueke, I'm sure, had that sinking feeling when he arrived back in Wolverhampton, realising it was still a shithole. And going into the game, there was actually some good news for Arsenal. Bukayo Saka had signed a new 5-year deal at the club. It's not been his greatest season, to be honest with you. He's been bad in terms of his output. But in a more central role here, he was able to give Arsenal the lead and end his own goal-scoring drought. Wolves were their usual calamitous selves in the first half, winning.
He's coming out to go. Let's go. Ooh, that's close. Ooh, that's hella close.
Getting back into the game with a lovely curl effort. Their Dav Kinder is absolutely delighted, and it was defo good for Wolves. Then as David Raya mistook Gabriel's airline for the ball, Dozier was able to rescue a point with the help of Calafiori in the post. Gabriel smacked the ground in frustration, even though it was his fault. This one officially going down as an OG. A former hero in Owen goal has officially turned on them.
You are a genius.
Extremist stable Ronaldo and Marlon were undercover as Arsenal agents in the crowd. That looked like a good idea until the end of the match, and Wolves fans were giving them stick. Fucking hell, sat by Tottenham, and now Arsenal have lost. It's been a rough week for Thomas Frank, this.
No, that's not right. That's a really bad one.
Gabriel Martinelli had been trying to rile up Wolves supporters by showing 2-1 with his hand to the crowd just to concede. He was looking pretty sheepish when he met some of the old gold supporters in the car park afterwards. The hilarious thing about all of this, right, is this literally means nothing whatsoever to Wolves. They are gone. They're out of it. They've already packed up their bags, and they were still able to give it large to Arsenal here. Another man giving it large was Ty from Arsenal Fan TV, threatening to scrap Wolves supporters, while AFTV generally was struggling to put together the reasons as to why they lost here.
I looked at the weather report. There was wind gusts up to 36 miles an hour.
Yeah, I've got the weather report for you, lads. It's fucked, mate.
It's raining for both teams.
The fact of the matter is, Arsenal had 1 shot on target in the second half of this game. They weren't positive enough. And look, you're 2-0 up, I get that. You don't have to be
crazily positive. Just strangulate the game and come out with a 2-0 win. It's fine. But creating that little against the side like Wolves, look, I don't even mean to be that harsh on Wolves. Yeah, they've been so much better recently, but they are still wank. Yeah, they are the worst team in the league. If you can't put together more than one shot on target against them in a half of football, then serious questions need to be asked. Gabriel Jesus was asking some serious questions of gravity when he shoved the Wolves player to the ground, finally getting some revenge for that cheeky Mosquera finger. All I'm saying is, North London derby next. If Igor Tudor wins in his first game, they're giving him a statue outside. Now though, on to Champions League action. This week saw the start of the don't know what to call this bit because not everyone's playing in it, but it's a knockout, I guess. Round. The Kings of the Champions League, Real Madrid have been through more knockouts than Jake Paul in this competition, and the scriptwriters were going mad when pairing Jose Mourinho's Benfica against his former side once more. Benfica's goalkeeper was getting his practice in for the rematch, not realising his goal in the group stages was a fluke. Come on, you fuck, son! Oh, you fucking... Real Madrid would be travelling from Spain to spicy Spain, where a dull game would spark into life with a piece of brilliance from Vinny Jr. Vinicius Jr. Oh, that is magnificent. He gave Real Madrid the lead before dancing at the corner flag. Now, this angered Benfica supporters, as well as a couple of Benfica's players, and Vinny was shown a yellow card for his troubles. Now, I've done the research here, I have looked at all the angles, and this is utter woke nonsense if this is classed as provocative. We've got so many examples of players celebrating after scoring and dancing in the course of history, and they've never received a yellow card. Jesse Lingard would literally be behind bars if he played in Portugal. What happened next would be even more outrageous, as the game was then stopped for over 10 minutes after Vinny Jr. himself ran over to the referee and alleged to the official he received racial abuse from 20-year-old Benfica forward Gianluca Prestiani. Now, allegedly, in this situation, Prestiani said mono, which is Spanish for monkey, whereas in repeating I think Prestiani was attempting to say that he'd said hermano instead whilst lifting his shirt to ensure that nobody saw what he actually said. Either way, this led to Vinny Jr. and the rest of Real Madrid's squad walking off. The game would get resumed, Real Madrid would win, but it was overshadowed massively. I thought some of the worst quotes came from commentary and Mark Clattenburg, who in essence blamed Vinny Jr., while Jose Mourinho said that Benfica couldn't possibly be racist because Eusebio is a legend there, and suggested that Vinny Jr. shouldn't have celebrated like that. The thing is, there's simply nothing wrong with this celebration, in my opinion. As I said in the video that you can check out here, there are other reasons not to like Vinny Jr. First of all, they don't mean that you can go and racially abuse somebody, but his stance, come on, man. Jose Mourinho celebrated far worse. This is the average Mourinho celebration after scoring a second goal versus Charlton in the FA Cup. Wayne Rooney questioned why he shouldn't be able to dance, why he would get a yellow card for that. To be honest, regardless of what Prestiani said in this situation, Kylian Mbappe seemed to think he'd said the same as well. I can't believe Jose Mourinho left him on. Camavinga and Tchouameni were getting ready to commit acts of GBH 5 minutes later. As I mentioned, Kylian Mbappe was not happy. He said he wouldn't address Prestiani by name, saying that number 25 shouldn't play in the Champions League again. Fede Valverde suggested that if you need to cover your mouth with your shirt to say something, it's probably not a good thing that you've said. Meanwhile, Trent Alexander-Arnold went straight to DMing the Argentine on Insta. This after Prestiani's been linked to getting an Argentina caller, his initiation song will be an absolute and he had something else locked in the chamber when Kylian Mbappe came over and he realised he could abuse him as well. Fucking baguette-eating dickhead from... Look, I'm joking, by the way. I just want everybody to know that, you know me. We aren't 100% sure on what he said at the end of the day because we don't have the camera footage because he put his shirt over his mouth. I do think that's somewhat telling under the circumstances. I think the lies from himself and also from Benfica's Twitter aren't a very good look for either of them at the very least. It did as well lead to ugly scenes in the stands from Benfica supporters throwing monkey gestures at Vinny. Prestiani suggesting that he thinks there's been a misunderstanding. Well, there wouldn't have been a misunderstanding if you didn't cover your mouth when you said something. Overall, look, I definitely think, you know, ultimately that Prestiani must have said something that he didn't want people to know, at the very least. If both Vinny and Mbappe have heard the same thing, then that is obviously pretty telling. But the crucial thing for me is that just because I've seen a lot of people suggesting that Vinny Jr. brings it upon himself, or that, you know, for some reason he deserves what happens to him, at the end of the day, whether you like a footballer or not, it doesn't have to lead to abuse. It should never resort to racism or prejudice of any kind. Players can have banter with each other without racism. Just look at Otamendi with Vinny Jr. pointing to his World Cup tattoo. Elsewhere, though, in the Champions League, Juventus decided to speedrun, causing generational sadness by conceding 5 to Galatasaray. Now I understand what the points of Kenan Yıldız's gloves actually mean. That a 5-goal former Galatasaray midfielder Felipe Melo was keen to remind Juventus fans of the scoreline here as well, but there was other kind of hand signs going on from Galatasaray fans in the crowd. I don't know what that even means, to
to be honest with you. But not everybody was satisfied. Victor Osimhen was still fuming despite a 3-goal lead here. Meanwhile, for Juventus, in the game that they probably expected to be the favourites in, they've been put in a very different position now. In an all-French affair, and Paris Saint-Germain came back from 2-0 down to beat Monaco 3-2. Former Arsenal striker Balogun had given Monaco the lead just 53 seconds in, and things looked even worse when Ousmane Dembele was subbed off after 26 minutes. According to Fabrizio Romano, he had an injured Ballon d'Or. This is what his Ballon d'Or looks like right now. Fabrizio, I'm sure, will be attending to that piece of silverware by nabbing it later on. Either way, it would actually be for the greater good as far as PSG were concerned, because Desiree Doué came on the 27th minute, scored 2 goals, and completely changed the game around. Probably helped by the fact that Valverde somehow has a job as a professional footballer for Monaco, something that needs to be investigated by the FBI. And at Newcastle, they swept aside Azerbaijani newcomers Karabag. The XG was off the charts as they led 5-0 at half-time. Karabag's manager had a response for Eddie Howe at half-time here, not going to lie to you.
Final of a cup, start really well, allow a goal from a corner, allow another average goal, and a fluke goal.
Newcastle were also in action in the FA Cup. We saw the 4th round played out this week. They got the better of Aston Villa, but it wasn't without VAR heartache. There was at least drama that benefited Newcastle. Marco Bizot seeing red, probably a card on Valentine's Day that he wouldn't have wanted. But some of the other decisions in this game were absolutely appalling. In a game, of course, where there's no VAR right now in the FA Cup, Newcastle's players were lining up outside the VAR room. Eddie Howe, I'm sure, just about to call his players off in protest. Yeah, it was poor, like, all round. And Alan Shearer raised a really good point, actually, suggesting that it was probably so bad now because referees are actually terrified and scared to make decisions. That's because they usually have the safety net of VAR in the Premier League. They get used to that, and then when they don't have that same safety net in, like, the cup competitions, they're suddenly afraid to make big calls. By the way, none of that was getting in the way of Arsenal as they steamrolled Wigan 4-0. They scored 4 goals here in 27 minutes. Just stop it, man. They're already there. And even on the mascot front, Arsenal would come out victorious as Gunnosaurus got the better of Wigan's pie in a penalty shootout. This game also saw Keparita Balaga subbed off for Tommy Setford so that he can make his debut. Let's be honest, he's not got a great track record of getting substituted off. I don't think he was particularly keen to get pulled off for a child. Arsenal have now been drawn against Mansfield Town in the next round. God, I'm so sorry. They're getting a run of Portsmouth, Wigan, and then Mansfield. These lot have played more EFL clubs than teams at the top of the Championship. Man City easily dispatched their opponents too, this time in the form of Salford, winning 2-0. Mark Gahey was literally eliminated from the FA Cup recently, and then scored in the very next round. Meanwhile, James Trafford was interviewed at full time, and is frustrated at his lack of game time since Gianluigi Donnarumma's arrival. That tastes like demotion. Shaw was devastated losing to Manchester City again.
A living, breathing, walking example of shite.
And with Man City drawn against Newcastle, Magpie supporters, you've got to play City 5 times this season. I'm so sorry. Liverpool are also into the next round of the FA Cup after defeating Brighton 3-0, leaving this poor seagull in the stands depressed. Is it a bird? Yes, I'm just gassed now. I'm avoiding croquet for an entire 7 days, man. At West Ham, they eventually got the better of Burton Albion. That wasn't stopping one West Ham supporter from protesting in the form of a banner and a plane. And we had good old-fashioned football at Grimsby too. No VAR and a pitch that looks like the front lines of Dunkirk in 1940. Just how the game should be played. At Tottenham, and they've announced that Igor Tudor will be arriving as their manager until the end of the season. He joins on a 5-month contract with no option to extend, and his first 4 matches as manager against Arsenal, Fulham, Palace and Liverpool. Unsurprisingly, he's probably not too pleased about this, even though he claimed to be very happy in this interview. Yeah, he really looks it.
I'm so happy, believe
There's a new manager at Nottingham Forest as well. Former Wolves boss Vitor Pereira is their 4th manager of the season. Marinakis, we might have to genuinely, contemplate, is he actually getting Forest relegated on purpose? At Brentford, and Michael Coyote has really made a name for himself this season. Generally, because of his footballing ability, he's been amazing for Brentford as a wing-back, but also for his cannon of a long throw. Nicknamed Coyote Lap, he did a gender reveal with his partner this week at Brentford Stadium, and at the G-Tech, he did a gender reveal throw-in. Yeah, we love to see it. Congratulations, man. We're also seen at West Ham as well, where Jared Bowen made some time for a little girl on her birthday. Meanwhile, it turns out Alexis McAllister cannot say footballing names.
Haaland. Mamma mia.
Now, in Spain and Barcelona are having a bad time. They're coming off the back of a slapping in the Copa del Rey to Atletico Madrid, where professionals were making sandwiches as they were receiving Atletico's meat. Antoine Griezmann at least having a wholesome moment with his nan after the 4-0 victory. They couldn't get any better for Barcelona as they were then beaten by Girona late on 2-1 in La Liga. Barcelona tweeting about this one, don't let them score. When are they going to learn? Well, You need to listen to your own advice, lad. Now, Barca can feel a little bit hard done by a lack of VAR check on this foul from Jules Koundé. I think, to be honest with you, the man was doing a Milan fashion week halfway through the game. He's getting cooked by everybody at the moment at right back. His performances have been very much below par. It's looking hella 2020 Barca out there right now. I'm seeing a couple Braithwaites at the moment. The small leagues are firmly calling. The Jamal that turned up in this one as well, not ideal. He missed a penalty in this game, hitting the post. There was also a horrific challenge on Lamine Yamal late on in this game, actually, which resulted in a red card. We hate to see it, genuinely. Come on, guys. Well, with Barca desperate at the end, Joan Garcia was sent forward in the 99th minute. Bro thinks he's true bit. By the way, this result meant that Barcelona would give up the league lead as Real Madrid beat Real Sociedad 4-1 with the help of Penal de Madrid. Top of the league, Barcelona.
Faros desde la frontal del área.
Brother, don't touch his hair. He doesn't like it when the peasants touch his hair. We saw, in fairness, a crazy assist from Trent Alexander-Arnold in this game for striker Gonzalo Garcia, but it wasn't all good for Real Madrid. Federico Valverde deciding to do up WWE tables, ladders and chairs on this fridge. Elsewhere, Lepzig, and I spoke about them beating Barca. Well, they went from doing that to getting pumped 3-0 by Rayo Vallecano. At Sevilla, they weren't too pleased by their opponent's set-piece technique, saying that they'd done an Arsenal and scored from a corner. Mikel Arteta's around ball is global. Meanwhile, Sevilla's Femení side, well, the goalkeeping on show for this halfway line strife wasn't exactly ideal. In Formula 1 news, and of course testing is going on right now ahead of the new season, Ferrari tweeting meow as Lewis Hamilton went past him, and Getafe have certainly seen that name before. In France now, Paris Saint-Germain were the victims of a surprise defeat to Rennes. 3-1 was the scoreline here in their battle to win Ligue 1. With Bryce Samba putting in a goalkeeping clinic to deny the betting companies here this one. They made their money for the week. Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain in 2026, they're not quite the same beast as what we expect them to be. And Marseille, and they are going through a little bit of a crisis at the moment. Roberto De Zerbi, of course, left his managerial role, and Mehdi Benatia left his role as director of football, only to return 2 days later. His entrance into the job centre didn't last very long at all. Monaco are currently going through their will still phase, as their manager Sebastian Cognoli doesn't have the correct actual badges or high enough badge status to be able to manage in Ligue 1. So they pay a fine of €25,000 every time they play, only they're not actually doing very well, so you've got to question what the fines are really for. But at least better news somewhere else in France, and that's that Olympique Lyon have now accrued 13 wins in a row. Unbelievable job from their playing staff and the manager as well, given they lost a whole range of players over the summer. Their fans all bald right now with this many wins in a row. In Italy, and there was drama between Inter and Juventus. Inter winning this one thanks to a last-minute strike for Christian Kivu's side, but Pierre Kalulu was controversially sent off for Juventus after this absolutely catastrophic dive. It was a second yellow, which meant that VAR wasn't able to actually look into it. Kalulu couldn't believe his eyes on ref cam. Meanwhile, Bastoni was celebrating in the background. Yeah, this thing just cheated their way to this one, man. It led to a scrap, basically, all round at full time between the staff of each side. Juventus don't help themselves, though, because their defence is an absolute travesty when Bremer's not involved. There was more red card drama at Como, but Alvaro Morata managed to pick up 2 yellow cards in 30 seconds, the second one coming for dissent. Disappointing for Como fans. I'm sure they'll live with it, though, given they get to go to games via boat. As you know, and for some reason, Ruben Amorim accidentally appeared in their starting 11 as a picture instead of their actual Brazilian player, Alex Amorim. And there was even more red card drama for Kivo Verona and Gift Orban. He was given a straight red card in the opening minutes of his side's eventual loss to Parma after just protesting a decision made by the referee. He seemed pretty calm in the way that he went up to the referee, but was shown a straight red anyway. He took to Twitter to say that black players in Italy are treated differently. And all I'm going to say is this referee, that is a scam. That's one of the worst and most unnecessary red cards I've ever seen a referee give out. In Germany, I don't do this often in FTW, but I'm just giving a shout out to someone. Serhou Guirassy is a lethal striker, isn't it? The man's got more goal contributions than any other player in the Champions League as of the start of last season, with 17 goals and 7 assists to his name to try and help Dortmund through the playoff phase. Meanwhile, at Stuttgart, and their crocodile mascot was getting involved in the celebrations. Now that it's time for your goals of the week, we got a couple screamers for you. First of all, a goal matched in beauty by its overall surroundings, as in the middle of seemingly a combination of icebergs and mountains. We've got a beautiful free kick landing straight in the top corner. Not quite the same sort of surroundings, but a similar goal, just executed even better. Now, Hulk has not exactly scored many tap-ins in his career. A lot of the time he's pummeling the ball as hard as he can, and that is exactly what we've seen here, still at his age in Brazil. This knuckleball and dipping free kick is ludicrous. Hello all, and welcome to the beautiful game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. the beautiful game. Now, in the Netherlands, we have the award for the biggest FC26 career mode transfer of all time, as Raheem Sterling has joined Feyenoord. Poor guy's got to learn how to speak Dutch, man. I don't envy him at all. So he's not exactly going into this move with a whole lot of form, and his Feyenoord teammates will be getting straight into his face when he drops a 7th 5.7 rating in a row. I mentioned FC26 a second ago. Well, there's rumours that FC27 is going to have a special free roam mode where players can go round, get barbers, and live their lives actually outside of football. I just hope there's no driving involved, otherwise playing as Marcus Rashford may well be a no-go. I heard you like drinking in Belfast. We gave you 7 separate Jaeger bomb holders. Carlo Ancelotti, meanwhile, has been getting lit in Brazil. His age isn't stopping him from getting backstage at a festival or from getting with 3 gal at the same time. Unfortunately, this is an AI image, but it does paint a picture, man. In Russia, meanwhile, and John Duran's latest adventure at Zenit St. Petersburg was him causing GBH on his debut. Yeah, he got involved in a scrap with a defender, basically doing a headlock on him as a ball was played in behind. This man's gone from Champions League bangers to playing on a training pitch in Russia. There's a sprinkler in the background, for fuck's sake. What game even is this? Alexander Stankovic, son of the former Inter midfielder Dejan Stankovic, is playing for Club Brugge at the moment. His side won a derby against Cercle Brugge, and his response was to plant a flag of his current club in the centre circle of his sworn enemy's stadium. It's a shithousery award for the youngster. In Brazil, Neymar returned with an assist in a 6-0 win after knee surgery. A pretty impressive feat for a man with 0.75 of an ACL. And another man maybe joining in Brazil is Jesse Lingard, who's been linked with a move away. This man would be collaterally unserious in a country like Brazil. I don't know if we can allow that to happen. Talking of unserious, and in Turkey, one assistant referee was allegedly hit with a kid's bicycle whilst running down the touchline. Now, look, I'm not going to advocate for throwing anything from the stands, right? Well, I'm not going to advocate for harming officials, but getting slapped down with the Fisher-Price Toys R Us 310 is absolutely wild. No such problems for Serdar Dursun, who's on the score sheet in Turkey and hit the Sue celebration, and the stadium actually went along with it. Meanwhile, in Belgium and at Anderlecht, they called for supporters and staff members to clear the snow before their most recent cup game. Now, closer to home, and I would like some serious police action taken on Wickham, as when they get to the 67th minute at their stadium, they put a 6-7 graphic up on the big TV screen. I need an investigation into what on earth happened from this penalty at Rochdale versus Scunthorpe. Rochdale ready to step up and take a pen, only for the taker to just abandon it halfway through the run. Now, in the rules of the game, that means that it's a free kick to the opponent, and that's what the referee exercised here. A real wasted opportunity. Well, Hernan Crespo was reflecting on his time back at Chelsea, calling this trio a beautiful threesome. At York, and there were some excitable fans' limbs, you could argue, or one limb, in the case of whoever this child is that's been upside down. In Austria, Sturmgrass having a very weird season. You see, they are attempting to complete Tottenham Hotspur Simulator. The reigning Austrian champions are bottom of the home table. They do not perform well in their own ground, though contrary to Tottenham's season, they are top of the away table. Surely this is going to be one of the first times this has ever happened. In Uruguay, and shout out to Fernando Camado, who's on the ball here, managed to evade the attention of a couple of defenders with a beautiful nutmeg. In Ghana here, a player by the name of Mohamed Kamara has been left behind by the coach. Not the manager, like the entire team was, so I'm guessing he's not attending the game. Leighton Town marked Valentine's Day with a player whose initials were BJ scoring, very fitting indeed. In Guadalajara, we've got maybe the worst trim that I've ever seen in my existence, certainly the worst attempt at money. There is at least some good football going on in Brazil, though. Again, some insane skill. We are seeing some beautiful dribbling today. That mental back heel flick to go around one defender, a little bit more dribbling, and then it ends in an assist as well. If that goal scorer even dares to celebrate away from the creator of this goal, then I will slide tackle him myself. Meanwhile, Cabal here was maybe doing a little bit too much slide tackling. He was subbed on. Their opponents decided that was the moment to conduct a comeback, and he also picked up 2 yellow cards in about 15 minutes for his troubles. Still 0-0, you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And Sunday League isn't just for like old Donny. This isn't just a get-together for the lads after a 17-pint night out on a Saturday beforehand. We also got the young bucks of the footballing community testing their skills out on these pitches as well. And this goalkeeper may well have a bright future, because this save right here is one that you will tell all of your relatives about till the end of time. On to the weird stuff though now. Over in Sweden, and Östersunds fans are feeling emotional. They're clearly missing a player who was a big hero for them in the form of Curtis Edwards running place for Gateshead right now. They are missing him so much the fans have launched a crowdfunder to re-sign him through just the fans' money alone. They need 200,000 SEK. I think it's Swedish krona, isn't it? And Curtis will be back in Sweden. And finally, at #United, we have got a real big feat here. Their women's side have had a great season so far. Okay, they're doing really well in domestic cups. In fact, they've made it to the final of the BBC Essex Women's Cup, where they'll be facing against #United too. Yeah, they've had such an outstanding season in Essex that their A team has made the final and their B team has made the final as well. I think it's a pretty safe bet, really, when it comes to who's going to come out on top. That though is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Sorry, this episode's been a little bit short. Truthfully, outside of two big stories or things going on, hasn't really just been much going on in football this week. We'll be back with another episode pushing 30 minutes next time. You can also find me on social media. It is @FishNFNG on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourselves. And goodbye.
Now that we got all that silly, stupid Champions League stuff out of the way, it's time to get to the real business, the Europa and Conference League, which I'm just going to start off the drop here. I don't know what Crystal Palace is doing, but they have been playing with their food for far too long. Not only have they managed to not finish top 8 in the Conference League, which I'm pretty sure most championship teams would be able to do that. Very disappointing from them. They are now struggling with Srinsky out of Bosnia and Herzegovina. I am aware that this is like a weird away day, but like at a certain point, you have to just be able to sack up and be able to beat these teams. I mean, you won the FA Cup for crying out loud the previous season to earn your way into this tournament. You shouldn't even be here. You should be in the Europa League, right? You had the ownership freaking conflict that bumped them down to the Conference League, but Srinsky is not even one of the harder teams that you could have drawn at this stage. And even though they won the possession battle at 72%, they did not win the XG battle. Right, this was not an overwhelming performance from Crystal Palace where they just happened to not score. They showed up in Bosnia and Herzegovina and they couldn't beat them. Now, what I need, and I'm not like a Crystal Palace fan or anything, but if you're a Crystal Palace fan, what you need is for Crystal Palace to deliver something, literally anything. Like, not anything. You need a 3-4-0 at home easy to start feeling comfortable and feeling good about your Conference League performance again in this situation. Right? This is a team that you should be. I mean, they're from a league that I would consider in the bottom third of all European leagues. That might even be generous. Right? They're from Narnia in terms of a footballing sense. It's a huge victory for Srinsky to be able to get to this point and get to the Conference League knockouts at all. Right? I think Crystal Palace not being able to win this match is crazy. I don't know if Srinsky would be able to get promoted out of League One. I mean, we're doing relativity. Obviously, that's the sort of question you can never find an answer to. But in terms of player valuations, there are definitely teams in League One with a more valuable roster than Srinsky. I am super impressed with the way they're able to play and do this, but I think more of it falls on Crystal Palace just not being able to execute at the level they need to execute. And that was not the only big surprise. AZ from the Netherlands went out to Armenia and lost to Noah. Again, this is all reversible. Right? These are teams, Noah and Srinsky, that are not really experienced in playing in the type of environments that AZ and in particular Crystal Palace are going to be able to provide a home leg, a knockout home leg in Europe, which for both of those clubs, Crystal Palace and AZ, is an unusual occurrence. Right? It is going to be a packed house. They're going to be really on edge for it. There's going to be a lot of energy, and I expect both AZ and Crystal Palace to be able to handle it. But the Armenian League is going to slot right up there with the Bosnian League, as these leagues just aren't very good. These are teams that you should not be dropping to. In the Conference League, I know it's known for being chaotic, but once the rubber meets the road in the knockouts, you don't normally see this. Right? AZ and Crystal Palace are two teams that can reasonably expect to win the whole thing, that are now on the ropes, that have now had everything come down to a single game. Right? For Noah, this is a redemption. Right? They've clearly taken a stride forward. They did not have much of the ball, but much the same as Srinsky. They created more chances. They had more shots. Right? They built the arc in their flow. Noah of Armenia has not only made the knockouts, but they are beating a team from the Netherlands in the knockouts. I realize Crystal Palace and AZ might not be taking these matches as seriously as maybe they should, but it is a clear indication that on a night, there are teams in a lot of leagues in Europe that can actually produce a performance, particularly at their park, that can make a lot of these teams sweat. Fortunately for Sanity, there was one team that was able to execute on that promise. Even though they're terrible in Serie A this year, Fiorentina was sensational. They won 3-0 at a pretty good Giagolonia side, who I would put is way better than Noah and Shrinsky when it comes to this sort of thing. And Fiorentina delivered belt to ass in the second half. That's when all three of their goals came, and this was a very impressive performance with over 2 XG produced. Now, penalty was a part of that, but it was enough for Fiorentina. They are the kings of this tournament. They never actually won it, but they seem to be at least in the semifinals of the Conference League every year. They will not be in it next year, because if you look at the Serie A table, this is really what Fiorentina has to pay attention to, unless they're starting to pull themselves up on the bottom. Okay, they have won 2 of their last 5 matches to pull themselves off the bottom of the table. They're trying not to get relegated, so league matches are very important for them. But a shot at this elusive European glory in the Conference League seems to be right in their crosshairs. Disappointing. I mean, tough draw, right, for Giagolonia to get Fiorentina from the top pot when you could get teams like Rijeka and Celje, right? And they ended up having to play Fiorentina, and they are paying for it, right? It's going to be near impossible for them to go to Italy and actually get the result that they want. A couple of other interesting results. I mean, we're going through all of them, but Lech Poznan with an impressive win in Finland against KUPS. So the Polish league with a bit of a bounce back here from Lech Poznan. They probably could have put it away thanks to a 12-minute red card. They scored just one of their 2 goals after that. And, there will be at least the belief for KUPS that they have a snowball's chance in hell here now that they're only down 2-0. Sigma Olomouc and Lausanne Sport. You got Czech Republic against Switzerland here, 1-1. Right? Neither of these are the big-name teams from their country. It would be huge for either of these clubs to be able to get through to the last 16 of this tournament. I would have made Lausanne Sport the favorites coming into it, but a bounce-back goal in the second half and a pretty dominant display overall in this match from Sigma Olomouc seems like it was wasted. And I would back Lausanne Sport to be able to hang on to it at home. But if you want to tune into a match where there's going to be some great desperation on both sides, that's definitely the place to pay attention. Slovenia's Celje in maybe the worst matchup of this round on the road against Kosovo's Drita. Incredible from Drita to be able to get to the knockouts from Kosovo. I mean, it's one of the worst leagues in Europe that's not in a micro-state. They've done really, really well to play to this level, but Celje was in the Conference League knockouts last year. They're here again, right? This is a level that they're comfortable with. This is a level that their players have experience with, and that showed through kind of at the end of this game. Drita did a brilliant job coming back, right? It looked like it was going to be over early, and particularly if you were just score watching, you go, okay, it's already 2-0 Celje. Celje is the name I recognize from the Conference League last year. They're going to see it out. But Drita scored 2 goals, and then that experience 94th minute goal, just the fight from Celje, who've improved a lot domestically in Slovenia. When they were putting that run together last year, they were not close to the best team in the Slovenian league. Now they actually are really the best team in Slovenia. They've used that European success to build a better team. I would expect them to be able to handle what is a pretty short away day at home. Omonia of Cyprus at home against Rijeka out of Croatia. Rijeka with a 1-0 win. Not easy. Cypriot League is better than you'd think. Same as the Greek League. This was an 86th-minute goal from Rijeka that ends up making all the difference. It was against the run of play. I honestly might have even picked Omonia to win the entire tie now, and they absolutely still could. This is probably a tie on the final day that is going to produce maybe some of the most rush. India, the stunning Macedonian entrance into this knockout, losing at home to Samsunspor of Turkey 1-0. Once you get outside the couple big teams in Turkey, there is a fall, right? You're looking at Galatasaray dropping a 5-2 win against Juventus, right? Samsunspor is not going to be swinging that heavy of a stick here, but I still would have expected them to win this by more. They missed a penalty in the first half and left it all the way to the 77th minute to find their actual winning goal. But based off the way they were able to dominate this match, even though Shkindia was the home team, it looks as though Shkindia is not they're not going to be able to continue their magical run. But now for that nonsense I promised you in the Europa League. Lille lost, and they are now in serious trouble because a well-documented, incredibly difficult away day is to go play against Red Star. Well, guess what? Lille now is down, going to Serbia in need of a result. Not a great look for France here, obviously, to have Lille struggling this way. I remember when Lille was a team that was beating PSG to the was a huge result for Red Star, right? I get the feeling the Conference League, the introduction of something like the Conference League, would have been a boon for clubs like Red Star. They would have been one of the first names off the sheet where you go, oh, that's the type of club that can really win this thing. You know, if it goes their way, it's going to help them get a bigger, more continental, global stage. This is the type of match they need to start winning if they're actually going to take advantage of that, and it's a huge result for Red Star to get 1-0 in France. Bit of a nightmare for Lille. They have less than 0.5 XG. Now, because Lille obviously is going to have more talent just per position than Red Star, there's a chance they can turn this around. But Red Star, I would say, is now the betting favorite to be able to knock out one of the bigger French clubs. I mean, we're in the playoff round here. We haven't gotten to the last 16 yet of the Conference League. Bad look for Lille. They are feeling really, really rough tonight. My favorite team, Victoria Pilsen. They still haven't lost, even though they are kind of the king of the draw. A 2-2 comeback draw at Panathinaikos in Greece, right? Greece has been very impressive. Victoria Pilsen took an early lead. I'm going to back them at this time to actually be able to hold on to that lead because Pilsen's defense is just haram ball on steroids. They give up nothing. But Panathinaikos was able to find a way through on 31 and 61 to get out to a 2-1 lead. That's when I check back in on this game, and an 80th minute equalizer for Victoria Pilsen has kept them entirely undefeated in this competition. And opens up, of course, the possibility that Victoria Pilsen never actually loses a match in the whole competition but gets eliminated anyway. This ends up going to penalties in the second leg. But a draw away, particularly in a matchup of two teams, two pretty darn good teams, two I would say, of the best non-Power 5 league teams you find in the Europa League. These two right here. Going to the Czech Republic, it's going to be, I don't know about fireworks, because Victoria Pilsen is a haram ball enjoyer, but it's going to be a very exciting match once you get past 70 minutes in the drama. You know, the rubber starts to meet the road. Brian of Norway against Bologna. The Bologna sandwich picks up a 1-0 win. They are not a normal European participant. This is fully uncharted territory for Bologna to be playing these types of matches in February, which is why I give them maybe a little discount for not being able to be a little more dominant. They also don't have the huge infrastructure and huge firepower of the Italian team you normally expect to find in the Europa League, like a Roma, for example. Right? So this is a survive and advance situation. The farther they go, I would be very willing to go out on a limb and say Bologna has never won a European trophy. This is a unique opportunity for them. They absolutely have a chance to get it. I would be a little concerned with the fact that they didn't have much of the ball in this game. Right? Braun does feel like they are very much in the conversation with Bologna in terms of the ability to play. Bologna is going to need to use that home field advantage to win. Nottingham Forest, they did not succumb to the drama. They won 3-0 in Turkey, right, which is not the easiest thing to do. Now that Dyche is gone, they seem to have gotten some sort of new manager bump and just absolutely laying the wood here. Because as much as Nottingham Forest has been out to sea, as it were, in the league, if you win the Europa League, you're in the Champions League next season. And not only that, you have a major European trophy that you can stuff into your back pocket as the return of Nottingham Forest continues. So, obviously, they're going to be focused on the whole let's not get relegated operation, but it is a huge deal for Nottingham Forest to be able to do this. Brutal draw for Fenerbahce to get Nottingham Forest in the playoff, and I don't see them being able to come back from that. Genk continues to show that the Belgian league is on the rise. An impressive 3-1 win over the Croatian giants Dinamo Zagreb. This was 2-0 inside 21 minutes, so very impressive start, and then a nice icing on the cake, 90th minute goal. They snuck by Dinamo Zagreb. Genk, though, not overly dominant, right? Obviously, Dinamo Zagreb at home, they are one of the best former Yugoslav territory teams that you're going to find right up there with Red Star. A lot of your favorite Croatian wonder kids have come through the ranks of this club. They can still do something in the second leg. Genk is absolutely not out of the woods here. It wasn't the type of dominant performance that I'm going to have. It's going to have me saying that they're out of the woods. PAOK had an opportunity to try and pick off a Power League team. They didn't do it. Celta Vigo 2-1 on the road in Greece. Kind of a similar situation to Bologna. Not a normal European team at all. Celta Vigo in fully uncharted territory. This is it. I kind of like that better sometimes because this is just a once-in-a-lifetime experience for the fans of Bologna, for the fans of Celta Vigo. Thessaloniki is in this position a lot more than Celta Vigo is. So they were able to handle the nerves. They got going early. They still got Iago Aspas out there. He's the guy that scored the initial goal. Then a late goal from PAOK Thessaloniki has kept them, it's kept them in it. If PAOK Thessaloniki is good enough to go to Celta Vigo and cause problems, especially, if it's a quick first goal, Celta Vigo's been dealing with that pressure and the nerves of playing in front of their home fans. So I wouldn't say they're out of the woods, but if you're Celta Vigo, if you're Bologna, a road win in a European knockout is gravy for them. Celtic continues the bad look for all Scottish teams everywhere. Stuttgart out of Germany with a demolition up in Scotland, a 4-1 win. Looked like it might be competitive for a moment. Then Nygren with a 21st minute equalizer, but on the other side of that time, it was pretty quickly 3-1. And then the final goal was the ultimate depression for Celtic, 4-1. I say the ultimate depression because they were in this game. If you check the highlights from this game, whatever, Celtic was creating chances. They just weren't finishing. Stuttgart was. And if you lose by 3 goals at home, I mean, my goodness, you're going to need one of those big-time, all-time European turnarounds to prevent yourself from being eliminated. And Stuttgart, one of the Power League teams, like Bologna, one lead. And that's when I check back in on this game. And an 80th minute equalizer for Victoria Pilsen has kept them entirely undefeated in this competition and opens up, of course, the possibility that Victoria Pilsen never actually loses a match in the whole competition but gets eliminated anyways if this ends up going to penalties in the second leg. But a draw away, particularly in a matchup of two teams, two pretty darn good teams, two I would say, of the best non-Power 5 league teams you find in the Europa League. These two right here. Going to the Czech Republic, it's going to be, I don't know about fireworks because Victoria Pilsen is a haram ball enjoyer, but it's going to be a very exciting match once you get past 70 minutes in the drama. You know, the rubber starts to meet the road. Brought out of Norway against Bologna. The Bologna Sandwich picks up a 1-0 win. They are not a normal European participant. This is fully uncharted territory for Bologna to be playing these types of matches in February, which is why I give them maybe a little discount for not being able to be a little more dominant. They also don't have the huge infrastructure and huge firepower of the Italian team you'd normally expect to find in the Europa League, like a Roma, for example. Right, so this is a survive and advance situation. The farther they go, I would be very willing to go out on a limb and say Bologna's never won a European trophy. This is a unique opportunity for them. They absolutely have a chance to get it. I would be a little concerned with the fact that they didn't have much of the ball in this game. Right, Braun does feel like they are very much in the conversation with Bologna in terms of the ability to play. Bologna's going to need to use that home field advantage to win. Nottingham Forest, they did not succumb to the drama. They won 3-0 in Turkey, right, which is not the easiest thing to do. Now that Dyche is gone, they seem to have gotten some sort of new manager bump and just absolutely lay in the wood here. Because as much as Nottingham Forest has been out to sea, as it were, in the league, if you win the Europa League, you're in the Champions League next season. And not only that, you have a major European trophy that you can stuff into your back pocket as the return of Nottingham Forest continues. So, obviously, they're going to be focused on the whole let's not get relegated operation, but it is a huge deal for Nottingham Forest to be able to do this. Brutal draw for Fenerbahce to get Nottingham Forest in the playoff, and I don't see them being able to come back from that. Genk continues to show that the Belgian league is on the rise, an impressive 3-1 win over the Croatian giants Dinamo Zagreb. This was 2-0 inside 21 minutes, so very impressive start, and then a nice icing on the cake 90th minute goal. They snuck by Dinamo Zagreb. Genk, though, not overly dominant, right? Obviously, Dinamo Zagreb at home, they are one of the best former Yugoslav territory teams that you're going to find right up there with Red Star. A lot of your favorite Croatian wonder kids have come through the ranks at this club. They could still do something in the second leg. Genk is absolutely not out of the woods here. It wasn't the type of dominant performance that I'm going to have. It's going to have me saying that they're out of the woods. PAOK had an opportunity to try and pick off a Power League team. They didn't do it. Celta Vigo 2-1 on the road in Greece. Kind of a similar situation to Bologna. Not a normal European team at all. Celta Vigo in fully uncharted territory. This is it. I kind of like that better sometimes because this is just a once-in-a-lifetime experience for the fans of Bologna, for the fans of Celta Vigo, where PAOK Thessaloniki is in this position a lot more than Celta Vigo is. So they were able to handle the nerves. They got going early. They still got Iago Aspas out there. He's the guy that scored the initial goal. Then a late goal from PAOK Thessaloniki it's kept them in it. If PAOK Thessaloniki is good enough to go to Celta Vigo and cause problems, especially if it's a quick early first goal, Celta Vigo's been dealing with that pressure and the nerves of playing in front of their home fans. So I wouldn't say they're out of the woods, but if you're Celta Vigo, if you're Bologna, a road win in a European knockout it's gravy for them. Celtic continues the bad look for all Scottish teams everywhere. Stuttgart out of Germany with a demolition up in
in Scotland, a 4-1 win. Looked like it might be competitive for a moment. Then Nygren with a 21st minute equalizer, but on the other side of halftime, it was pretty quickly 3-1. And then the final goal was the ultimate depression for Celtic, 4-1. I say the ultimate depression because they were in this game. If you check the highlights from this game, whatever, Celtic was creating chances. They just weren't finishing. Stuttgart was. And if you lose by 3 goals at home, I mean, my goodness, you're going to need one of those big-time, all-time European turnarounds to prevent yourself from being eliminated. Stuttgart, one of the power league teams, like Bologna, like Celta Vigo, like Nottingham Forest, they're sitting there going, we can win this thing. Right? This is a European trophy, which is so rare for Stuttgart. It's very winnable, and if you can go win at Celtic Park 4-1,
say that boy Carl.
About anybody in the tournament. Then the tie that really nobody cared about, Hungary, Bulgaria. I was hungry.
Offside.
You're welcome. Ludogorets won at home 2-1 for Bulgaria. So which of these teams is going to fight its way into the last 16 of the Europa League? Both of these clubs would be very happy to make it to that point. I'd say Ferencváros has more experience at that level than Ludogorets does in recent memory. This was 1-1 at the half, 2-1 to Ludogorets in the second
That's not outside, bro.
Ferencváros was the better team analytically, but Ludogorets was just kind of buoyed by that fervent, smoke in the stands type of Eastern European support that they're going to be getting. But of course, Ferencváros is going to be getting that on the return trip. So this, looking at all of these matches, I think Ludogorets going to Ferencváros in the Europa League playoffs, that is a match to watch. Two teams you don't normally get to see. It's going to be high drama. It's kind of a neighborhood game for them, so it's not even just the clubs. There's kind of pride for the countries involved in that as well, who can get to the Europa League last 16. It's a draw that both of those teams, I think, would have been pretty happy with, particularly Ludogorets getting Ferencváros as a seeded team. When they dodged, I would say basically every other seeded team is probably better. When opportunity beckons, drama normally follows, and there's an opportunity for both of those teams. But this has been a really good start. There's jeopardy in a lot of these ties, which has not always been the case. Shout out to the Europa League and Conference League for just giving us nonstop drama.
The 2010s was indisputably the decade of the winger. Whereas in the 1990s, the game was dominated by unstoppable strikers like Gabriel Batistuta, Christian Vieri, Marco van Basten and Ronaldo, the two best players on the planet in the 2010s, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, played primarily on the left and right flanks. Meanwhile, even the players most often considered to be their closest competitors, Neymar, Bale and Hazard, were all wingers as well. From 2012 through to 2017, of the 18 Ballon d'Or podium places dished out, only 2 of them went to players who weren't primarily wingers, namely Manuel Neuer and Antoine Griezmann. Even Griezmann played 13 games on the wing, the season that he finished third. The European Golden Shoe, meanwhile, was only won by a striker twice in the space of 11 years, and the Champions League Golden Boot was won by wingers for 12 consecutive seasons. All of this would have been inconceivable prior to the 2010s. By 2021, people, myself included, were discussing the potential extinction of centre-forwards as we once knew them, with withdrawn defensive or pressing forwards, serving primarily as a foil for wingers, like Roberto Firmino, Olivier Giroud, or Alvaro Morata, coming to define the edge. In the 2021 Champions League final, there wasn't a single out-and-out centre-forward in either team's starting 11. Riyad Mahrez and Raheem Sterling, 2 wingers, were Man City's most advanced players. Meanwhile, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount flanked Timo Werner for Chelsea, the closest thing to a centre-forward on the pitch. And even he was replaced by another winger, Christian Pulisic, in the 66th minute. As recently as last season, it appeared as though the era of the winger was still in full flow. Mohamed Salah reclaimed the Premier League Golden Boot from Erling Haaland, winning the league's Player of the Year award as Liverpool romped to the title. Ousmane Dembele won the Ballon d'Or as the star man in an all-conquering PSG team that won the Champions League with wingers stealing the show. And his runner-up, Lamine Yamal, was being heralded as the next Lionel Messi, and as potentially already the best player on the planet at the age of just 17. The proportion of goals scored by strikers, meanwhile, had literally never been lower. Suddenly, this season, It feels as though football has performed a screeching U-turn, with wingers being the biggest victims. Salah's form has fallen off a cliff, with Antoine Semenyo the only winger among the Premier League's 8 highest goal scorers. Wingers don't lead the scoring charts in a single one of Europe's Big 5 leagues, and there is only one winger, Lamine Yamal, who is still among the 5 favourites to win this season's Ballon d'Or. So just what on earth is going on? Did all of the wingers just become rubbish overnight? It seems doubtful, but I suppose we can't rule it out. Anyway, that's what today's video is all about. So sit back, relax, and join me on a journey from the left to the right wing, a bit like Benito Mussolini's political career, as we take a look at why wingers have stopped scoring, why strikers aren't faring much better, and whether the sport has entered into a new era which favours defenders and defending to the possible detriment of all else. Mohamed Salah is perhaps the poster boy of wingers scoring fewer goals this season. Last season, Salah scored 29 goals in the Premier League and 34 goals in all competitions, and in his lowest ever goal-scoring season at Liverpool, in 2019-20, he still scored 19 Premier League goals and 23 goals in all competitions. This isn't what today's video is about, but the fact that Salah never scored fewer than 23 goals in a season over a period of 8 years at Liverpool is genuinely remarkable. Over those 8 years as a whole, Salah averaged 0.61 goals per game, or a goal once every 129.7 minutes. This season, by contrast, Salah has only scored 4 goals in 18 Premier League games, which only works out as 0.22 goals per game, or a goal once every 384.5 minutes on average. That is a drop-off in percentage terms, not from Salah's peak in terms of goal scoring last season or in his first season at Anfield, but from his average rate of return over 8 years of 66.26%. In other words, Salah's output has been cut to almost exactly a third of what it has been for the last 8 years, this season alone. Of course, there are multiple possible explanations for this. Salah isn't getting any younger. He turned 33 in the summer, and it seems perfectly plausible that he may now be past his peak. Liverpool as a whole have been a far less effective unit as a team this season, averaging about 0.7 goals per game less this season than they did last. And the influx of summer arrivals like Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, and, when fit, Alexander Isak, combined with Arne Slot's subsequent tactical shifts, have all likely had an impact. But Salah isn't alone. In fact, he is much closer to being the rule than the exception. Bukayo Saka has scored 5 goals in 23 Premier League games this season, one of which was a penalty. Cody Gakpo has scored 5 in 24, only one of which has come in 2026, in a game where he played the full 90 minutes as a centre-forward, and Anthony Gordon has scored 3 in 20, and had gone over 12 months without scoring a single goal from open play in the Premier League, before finally scoring in a 4-1 defeat against Liverpool last month. The season before last, Gordon scored 11 Premier League goals, only one of which came from the penalty spot, in addition to making 15 assists. All in all, Gordon averaged 0.74 goal contributions per game. 2 years older and more experienced, you might expect his output to have increased. In actual fact, his 3 goals and 2 assists in the Premier League this season, including 2 penalties, works out at just 0.25 goal contributions a game. Excluding penalties, Gordon has gone from averaging 0.71 goal contributions a game in the 2023-24 season to 0.15 goal contributions a game this season. At Chelsea, Pedro Neto has scored 5 goals in 25 Premier League games this season. Estevao has scored 2 in 19, Alejandro Garnacho 1 in 16, and Jamie Gitton 0 in 16. Those 4 cost a combined £169.4 million, according to reports, rising to £195.5 million, subject to others. And they've scored 8 goals in 76 Premier League games between them. Even Cole Palmer, Chelsea's best and most productive player, if you classify him as a winger despite most of his appearances this season coming in attacking midfield, he too has only actually scored 3 non-penalty goals in 15 Premier League games so far this term. At Man City, Jeremy Doku has scored 1 goal in 20 Premier League games this season, and Savinio none in 15, and if you include him, on the basis that he has been forced onto the left more often than he has played through the middle this season, Omar Marmoush has scored 1 goal